Yeah, on Friday.
There's the pass to Leitner.
On Friday, St.
Puts
Pete
it
beat
up.
Purdue.
Rogers like already looking past it.
Yeah, I know.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How are you, Miller and Moulton, on this final Monday of March? Hope you had a great weekend. Thanks for starting your week off with us here on the Florida Sports Network. Hey, I'm just giving you a warning right now. Don't make me slap you.
Just you keep your wife out of my mouth. Or out of your mouth. Or out of someone's mouth. Just
Right.
don't do it.
No jokes, okay?
No. Here.
No joking around. I think it was Clay Travis who tweeted out, if the Oscars could have a new rule going forward in which one actor will just indiscriminately at some point during the show get on stage and slap another actor, all right, but you don't know who it's going to be or when it's going to be, ratings will go up tremendously.
They will. I would have almost watched if I'd have known that was going to happen.
Right.
Canada Relief benefit in the Twitch chat. Will Smith, next movie, Ali 2.
Yeah, got that right. Miller and Moulton on this Monday. If by chance you don't know of what we speak, apparently during the Oscars yesterday, Chris Rock told a couple jokes. And
wait a minute. Chris Rock told jokes at the Oscars?
He's a comedian. You know?
Okay.
And so jokes are his thing.
That's
crazy. I know he's done a little acting, but he's predominantly a comedian. And so one of the jokes was Will Smith's wife, Jada. I guess she's got some sort of hair disease. She has trouble growing it. So it looks as if she shaved her head. And so Chris Rock said, Jada, can't wait for the remake of, G.I. Jane 2. All right. And Will Smith got very upset, walked on stage and slapped Chris Rock, who I will give him credit. Not a big guy. We met him.
No, he's small.
Right. Not a big guy. And it was a slap, not a punch. But Chris Rock didn't move.
Apparently backstage, Chris Rock was caught saying, I got hit by Ali and I wasn't even scratched.
Who was it who pointed out? I saw it on Twitter that Chris Rock's next show is Wednesday in Boston. My guess is he's going to come up with some material between now and then. Don't you think at next year's Oscars, since Will Smith, apparently he won his second Academy Award last night.
Right. And then cried.
And talked about love, which, So, but if you win, best actor, best actress, best supporting actor and actress, you are in next year's Oscars giving away an Oscar.
Right.
So Will Smith will be presenting in next year's Oscars. Doesn't Chris Rock just have to come in from off stage and just slap him and walk off stage again?
Would be great. Somehow I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, come on.
Apparently Will's lost his sense of humor.
Well, he'll have a year to get it back. You know who's lost their sense of humor is the Oscars. Apparently, they just absolutely freaked out. They wouldn't allow any questions about it. When then some of the reporters started asking actors and actresses questions, they shut it down. That's it. The interview's over. I mean, no one was, they were saying to everybody, don't comment on it. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, turn this into a pay-per-view if you could. I mean, please. Let's have another one Monday night. Let's have the rematch. I mean, but so that's probably
Vince
who won't
McMahon's
allow
on
it.
the line with both of them
There's
this morning.
no doubt about it. Khan for AEW and Vince McMahon, they're literally wrestling over how to play this. You know, that is a thing there. I mean, if you think about it, you could probably get Chris Rock and Will Smith, just pay him to be part of a tag team effort in a wrestling show.
Boy,
if they had a sense of humor.
I hope not.
But Miller and Moulton on this Monday. So and I'm guessing most of you did not watch the Oscars or you were not awake at that point in time. I have no idea when it happened. I watched the first 20 plus minutes. I always watch the monologue.
And
It was okay. I mean, it was
C+.
Yeah. I mean, everything's much tamer
Right.
nowadays. I mean, my goodness. Everything's much tamer. There was a Florida joke in it, about the bill that's passed recently about what you can and cannot teach in schools and all that. So, and you knew that was coming. I will say there were a couple of good lines, I thought. One of which was you had three women who were doing the monologue. And they said, we've really come a long way as women. And the Williams sisters actually started off the show and sent it to Beyonce, who did a performance in Compton. And obviously the Williams sisters are from Compton. And the one movie was about their dad. Right. And that's Will Smith played him and won the Oscar. And so Amy Schumer goes, we've really come a long way, in which here we are, we're celebrating the Williams sisters' dad. We've really come a long way as women. And then she said something about, we've got a lot of legends here, including Aaron Sorkin, who was able to make a movie about the funniest female comedian of all time, Lucille Ball, without any jokes. No humor whatsoever. Okay. It would be the equivalent of making a movie about Michael Jordan and show nothing but the bus rides to or from the arena.
It's pretty good.
So, that's kind of what I got out of it. Anyway.
That's pretty good.
But I don't know if it was worth 24 minutes, but I always, doesn't matter who, I always watch the monologue. I mean, come on, we can.
USA was playing Panama. I don't know what to tell you.
I know.
I mean, by that point, I think we were up 4-0. I probably could have watched it, but I didn't watch it.
And I understand. I mean, once you're in, you're in. Besides, they don't normally play that well.
No.
On a big stage, too. Kind of like the Oscars. It was a big room last night in Orlando. Big stage in Orlando last night for the U.S. men's national team.
One match was fixed, and then there was the Oscars.
Oh! Miller and Moulton on this Monday. Obviously not a great tournament day yesterday. Both games, although Miami, had it going there for an hour at least.
Right until halftime.
Had a little something going, and then, bubble burst. Not as badly as it did in the nightcap.
No, that was over before it started.
And I thought while watching it, I was having dinner with my wife and mother-in-law, and they said, what's going to happen? And I go, I got a bad feeling. And they go, well, that's what they said in the other ones. I go, yep, that's a fair point. Fair point. I go, we got pros. We got pros on the court here. A lot of size. I said, there's a lot of reasons why I think this is, not going to go well. But I don't know if while you were watching it, if at any point in time you thought to yourself, this actually makes what they've done more impressive.
Totally. Because what you just described is what they played against Purdue.
Yeah.
Purdue had two bigs. They had guys that are going to play at the next level. There were pros on that Purdue team.
Purdue was number one in the country at one point this year. Right. Yeah.
So when they did to Purdue what they did to Purdue, I was downright stunned.
So was Purdue. And Purdue freaked. Just flat
Yes,
freaked.
they did.
Yeah. And Matt Painter, this just in, when you're the better team, you play up tempo. You want more possessions. All right, you want more possessions. The inferior team slows it down. They want fewer possessions. Matt, next time,
If you get a next time,
speed the game up, just so you know. If they can beat you 85-80, you tip your cap. They beat you 62-58 or whatever it is, that's on you.
it's darn right it is.
That's on you.
And North Carolina wasn't having any of that. North Carolina
Right.
plays a fast game.
Always. Always have.
No, exactly.
Except for the four corners.
Right. But
Okay.
in the shot clock era,
Totally.
they have never been a defensive-minded team. They have
No.
been a push the action. We've got better players than you. Let's initiate the play. And they did from the word go. They took it to St. Peter's, and the bubble burst. But this just in, they've been to as many Elite Eights as the University of Miami.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Yeah. Beyond remarkable. Although, do we think the landscape has changed? I mean, this is now 3 times in the last 9 tournaments, because obviously the one a couple years ago was canceled because of the pandemic. So 3 times in the last 9 NCAA tournaments, we've had a 15 get to the Sweet 16. And now, obviously, we just had one go to the Elite 8.
the landscape has changed immensely with one and dones and with the transfer portal. I mean, the entire landscape has changed. It doesn't diminish at all what St. Peter's did, what Oral Roberts did.
Did you hear Kenny Smith at all this weekend? Kenny Smith said something I thought was brilliant, and I think it was Friday night when St. Peter's, I don't know if it was at halftime or they had just beaten Purdue. And Kenny Smith said, he was asked to explain, how's this happening? And he goes, I grew up with 3 other guys. And he mentioned the guys by name. And he goes, they were really good. They were all as good as me. Sometimes they were better. He goes, you know what the difference amongst us was? They stopped growing. I didn't. So I went to North Carolina. They went and whatever it is he mentioned. He goes, but those guys could ball. They were really good. He goes, that's what we got going on here. He goes, that's all. The guys on St. Peter's, they stopped growing. Okay, but they can play. And I thought about that. I went, okay. All right. And maybe we'll see more of this.
Maybe. The way that kids shoot now. I mean, it was 2-3 weeks ago that video surfaced of a high school game where 2 kids were crossing half court and scoring. One after another after another. The game has fundamentally changed. And St. Peter's in that game, what did they do early? They missed every single shot they took for the first 4 minutes of the game. They couldn't find a bucket. And when you're the inferior team, you need to get a little something going. It would help to make a 3-pointer early instead of miss your first 5-6 shots.
Yeah, 9-0 hole's not good.
No.
Biggest hole of the tournament. And so we end up with as blue a blood Final Four as we've had since 2008 when all 4 1 seeds made it. Even though we had largely chaos from beginning until yesterday. But we end up with a 1, 2 2s, and an 8 that's disguised as North Carolina. Hello.
That the 8 has 6, but those 6 can flat out play.
Yes, they can. Think that guy's ever going to shave that beard?
Mom wants him to shave the beard and cut the hair. I think it'll happen right after they lose their next game or win the rest of their games.
Miller and Moulton. Thanks for waking up with us on this Monday here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial, and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. 16 in the round of 8 was better on TV. You know what I mean? When there's a few matches going on, but yeah, I forgot all about the race. I had the basketball game on. My mom was over for dinner, and I didn't have my phone was on the charger. I walked up and saw, like, it was in the bedroom where I would have seen it. Oh, it's definitely got a Trailblazers Walton look to it.
Yes. Solid call there, Klecko.
They had mentioned that during the broadcast.
By the way, how about Ian Eagle? Who was it for Carolina? Rebounded his own miss twice and then put it up and in finally, and he goes, so-and-so channeling his Moses Malone for 2.
Well, because Eagle had all the North Carolina games, right?
Right.
Shut up, Moses.
In the game before that, when Love goes off, he referenced every song he could think of. At one point, Carolina fans say, all you need is love. And he did another one. And the Love Connection. And whoever's doing color goes,
Spinarco, I think.
Goes, oh, I caught that Love Connection. Going Chuck Woolery, or made a Chuck Woolery reference.
Right.
And then he, love is all around. Love is in the air. I mean, he did fucking 5 Love references. It's like, I was crying. I was laughing so hard.
I love it whenever he pulls out the next level.
Iron Eagle and Bill Raftery for a long time. I don't think Raft does it anymore, but Iron Eagle and Bill Raftery did New Jersey Nets games. It was and the Nets were not good, which made it a really entertaining watch.
Well, Iron Eagle still does Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah. He's done 25 years in Nets games, and he's like 53 years old or something like that.
That's awesome.
Beloved in the industry, by the way.
Oh,
Every single network person loves Iron Eagle. Apparently, he's a great banquet. He's apparently funny as hell on the banquet circuit, does impressions of everybody. If the other announcers were to hire the number one guy, Iron Eagle would win it.
How do we get him on the show?
How did the number 10 Creighton team get to that far in the?
They beat Iowa. And then Iowa State, 2 and 3.
Yeah, okay.
In the second round and Sweet
Creighton
16.
beat Iowa and Iowa State.
Back to back.
That's rich, isn't
It
it?
is, isn't it? Here's the committee thinking they're cute. They put Iowa and Iowa State in a 2 and 3. They're going to get them in the Sweet 16. Creighton takes them both out.
How did Maryland do? I didn't even look.
Oh, my God. They were down 29 and cut it to 4 before losing to Stanford, I think it was. 29.
Well, yeah, that's who
They trailed
that's
by.
who they were getting.
Yeah. 29. They
That
trailed
team
by.
go down 29. That was a good team.
Cut it all the way to 4 and lost by like 6 or 8.
What? Hey, did you know that the Celtics at one point were 23 and 24?
They were 11th, I think, at that
Yep.
point in the East.
To 47 and 28.
Quick math. That's 24 and 4.
What's going on with your Heat?
Ha!
They didn't
Ah!
make. They didn't make up. They went and lost again.
Ha!
Well, first of all, you're giving me the my.
Well, they're your Heat. You
Yeah,
go
they're your
we
Heat.
every other word.
Right. Look at you not wearing anything Miami today.
There's a
Heat-
Heat. What's on
Heat
under
have
that? What's
lost
under
3
that
in a
hoodie?
row. Yeah, Heat have lost 3 in a row. Canes get beat. Look at you. Panthers lose.
Bandwagon.
Unbelievable.
Bandwagon fan.
Couldn't find a Miami team to root for this
See what-
morning.
I'm actually
I got
doubled up.
laundry to do.
I'm
man.
doubled up in Sparty gear.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Verne Lundquist to join us at the top of the hour. Verne Lundquist. And he joins us because today, Mark, is an anniversary.
His?
No. Although he and Nancy, I think, coming up right around 40 years married. She was on a date with another guy when he picked her up. That's how much game Verne Lundquist had. When you're on a date with someone else and you end up having the conversation, getting the number, and she's your girlfriend very shortly thereafter and for the next 40 plus years. That's how much game Verne Lundquist had back in the day.
It's a lot of game.
It's a lot of
Yeah,
game.
he's different.
That's a lot of game. You can all think about whether or not you've ever been able to pull that off and you've ever had that much game.
We've all tried to pull it off.
Sure.
I mean, there's no one that can say they didn't at one point try to bird dog someone's date.
Or just, to me,
Make something,
Right.
make a funny, do something to get the attention on you.
Mark, here's how I think many a guy look at it, is they look at many a pretty lady and think there could come a day when she'll be in the transfer portal. Okay, so you can always do a little bit of recruiting, because if she's going to transfer, she has to transfer to someone, right? Somewhere. And so then you get to raise your hand and go, hey, remember me? You know, you weren't quite ready. You thought you were going to get more playing time. And, you know, hey, if you want to get more playing time, I'm available.
Wait a minute. I just want to make sure I got that right.
Right.
You just correlated trying to bird dog somebody's date with that woman could end up in the transfer portal.
Right. They break up. Okay. They break up. Okay. They thought that.
I understood
Right.
exactly what you
Right.
said. I mean, you can explain it to me again. You just basically put all single women in the transfer portal.
Or married. Okay. I mean, the same way.
That's a dumb good point right there, David.
I mean, you know, listen, best intentions. You committed to a certain school, all right, and you thought maybe even it was a Power 5 school at the time. And then, you know, things just aren't working out for you. Who knows? They change coaches. You just don't know. You know, all of a
it
sudden.
wasn't me, it's you.
They're right. They
It
start,
wasn't you, it's me. Either one of those.
they start running a different offense. It's not the one you signed up for. You know, right.
I had that happen. They changed the whole defensive scheme. We were a fast-paced run-and-gun team, and all of a sudden, apparently, we were supposed to play it close to the vest.
Right.
And David, you know what I'm not? A close-to-the-vest type player.
Exactly. You're a roll the balls out, run it up and down the floor guy.
Yeah.
Right.
And they can't change you.
Right.
You commit to a school.
Exactly.
And you commit to that offense and that defense. And all of a sudden, like Troy Aikman, you don't want to run the option.
Well, no. You told me we were going to throw the ball to Keith Jackson. And apparently I'm handing the ball off all the time.
Right.
I'll go to UCLA. They throw the ball all over the lot.
See, I'd say Verne is more like Aaron Rodgers down 2 with a minute left in this situation.
So I think Nancy was in a slow-paced offense. And then Verne, walked in the room. Because this is Verne,
And first off, it's pre-transfer portal. Let's get this straight.
Right. This is late 30s.
This is $100 handshakes. I mean, you're not able to get a transfer this way then.
No. Verne's in his late 30s, but he's in Dallas, and he's a BFD. He's been on local TV for over 10 years. He's the voice of the Cowboys. He's doing some network TV stuff for the first time. He's a BFD. And then he walks in the room. And this is even yes, sir, in your life, all of that stuff. I mean, this is, he's just cutting his teeth on the network level here. Right.
Has he done the Super Bowl yet?
On radio. He had done a few. He had lost his game notes at the Orange Bowl.
When he was on the roof?
Right. We had Verne tell that story, Felipe, one day, and I don't know if you were ever in the old Orange Bowl, but the press area was incredibly small, and they didn't have enough room for the radio people. And Verne literally was broadcasting the Super Bowl from the roof of the press box, which, okay, until the helicopter flew over and cracked up all that wind, and all his notes went flying. Right.
Was he doing the TV broadcast?
No. He was doing
radio.
Cowboys radio. He was the voice of the Dallas Cowboys for a long time before Brad Sham. So
I vaguely remember the Orange Bowl, but I just remember every time I was in it, I thought that any moment it was going to collapse.
Well, then, yes.
Then you remember the Orange Bowl.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And when it rocked, you literally felt like the bleachers were rocking. So that's all. But we're having Verne on, not to talk about, how he picked up Nancy, okay, back in the day. But 30 years ago today, and Mark, this is special for me, all right? I think outside of Lake Placid, this is as good a sporting event that's ever taken place.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
It was the infamous Leitner hit the shot game. Duke 104, Kentucky 103 in overtime.
There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes!
And he shut up.
What else was there to say?
Well, David, many would find something to say. Most would find something to say.
Leitner, a perfect 10 for 10 from the field, 10 for 10 from the line. One of his shots from the field was a 3. Could have been ejected earlier in the game. He gave a little love tap to a player on his chest.
With his foot.
So many little anecdotes that came from that game. Duke, you tried to run that play earlier in the season against Wake Forest. Grant Hill threw the ball out of bounds. Patino, his first year as a head coach at Boston University, didn't guard the inbounder in a similar situation, lost the game. For the next 7 years, he guarded the inbounder on every single inbounds that his teams had. But because Leitner was a perfect 9 for 9 from the field and 10 for 10 from the line, he thought, well, I can't let Leitner touch the ball or we'll lose. So he double teams Leitner.
Yeah, but he didn't really double team because the one guy didn't play defense.
But that's on him.
No, I know. That was always my complaint about that play.
Right?
The guy with the mustache.
Yeah. Just
kind of stands there and doesn't even.
And says, Christian, please miss.
Right.
And of course, it was Kentucky just 3 years removed from probation and losing all their scholarships, and they were in disgrace. And while they had Jamal Mashburn, it was Mashburn and a bunch of grunts, basically. And here they were taking the defending national champions, who are much like this year's Carolina team in this sense. They only went 6 deep. I mean, you take a look at the box score from that game. I mean, Bobby Hurley played all 45 minutes.
Right, and Leitner played 43, 42, something like that.
And there they were on the brink, and they were about to be taken out. And, of course, it ends up being 2 legendary coaches and 2 blue blood programs. And the team that shot 58% from the field lost. I mean, it's just an exquisitely played game. 5 lead changes in the final 31 seconds of overtime. And so, since it's 30 years, we thought we'd have Verne on the show. And at the top of the hour, we will.
Still in college. It's in my redshirt year, David.
Is that your COVID year?
No. I was redshirted.
Okay.
Not by any team.
It is one of those moments, though, in which for a lot of people, you could say, do you remember where you were when Leitner hit the shot? And they go, oh, yeah. Like I was in Enwell, New York.
I was in Mount Pleasant, Michigan at a party at Central Michigan University.
And I wasn't alive.
Miller and Moulton. The starting 5 is next. Thanks so much for being with us, the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
He wanted to move ahead of Vital on the depth chart, but they said, well, then you can't do the tournament for CBS. You got to be all ESPN all the time. Can't do any regular season for them, nothing. If you're going to be our number one guy.
Right, you're our number one guy.
And so, because he, 10 plus years ago, I mean, he did the tournament with Dick Enberg, Phyllis did.
So the Savannah Bananas, whatever league they're in, it's some independent league.
Yeah.
If you foul the ball into the crowd
and
a spectator catches the ball,
right,
you're out.
What? Yes. I was about
Saw the tweet.
I was gonna ask both of you if you have ever heard of the Savannah Bananas.
Yes.
Well, yes.
We have a listener who's big into them.
Yes.
I need to. I feel like that's on my sports bucket list of things I need to go to. A Savannah Bananas game.
You foul it off into the crowd. If the guy catches it, you're out.
Yes. And
Banana ball rule number 9. If a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out.
and he caught it with a glove the other night.
Could you imagine how? It doesn't even matter if it's the home team.
I know. That's a tough decision to make, too. You want a ball. There's no fan at a baseball game that doesn't want a ball. But if you catch it, your team's guy is out.
So how many teams are in that league?
What league is it? Is it like South Atlantic League or something? Got to be independent ball.
Archangel says it's a showboat league, but how big is it?
2 hour. Here are the banana ball rules. Every inning counts. I don't know what that means. 2 hour time limit. No stepping out, no bunting. Batters can steal first. No walks allowed. 1-on-1 showdown tiebreaker, whatever that is. No mounds. If a fan catches a ball, it's an out.
I wonder if they joust for the tiebreaker. You ever seen that in college baseball? Like rain delays?
If a batter steps out of the box, it's a strike.
Wow.
Bunting sucks. If a batter bunts, they will be thrown out of the game. If a pass, ball, or wild pitch happens during any pitch of an at-bat, the batter can take off to first. Oh, my God. What is this league?
I don't know. Sounds like a beer league.
It's the best league there is.
They memed baseball, essentially. The XMLB. Nice.
Wow. You might want to use something besides your stick, guys in white. I mean, at some point, you might want to
How
put
about
a body.
I mean, look at the score.
No, I know they scored 11.
Right.
Most goals.
Oh,
Most goals in the salary cap era.
Really?
Yeah. No one's ever gotten to 11. These go to 11.
11.
They're one louder.
It's a shame Mike Lang doesn't do the games anymore. He would have had a ball.
geez, they really poured 11 goals.
Well, this is like 1985 defense here. This
Problem is you got 2 weeks left in the season.
Yeah. This is
You
like
know,
Tocchet, Kevin Stevens, Mario Lemieux.
You're on
era.
the road.
Look at that.
$250, $300 stick right there, just so you know.
Here you go, buddy.
All right, come back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Miller and Moulton on this final Monday of March. Thanks for making time for us, welcoming us into your day here on the Florida Sports Network. Verne Lundquist at the top of the hour. A couple hours from now, we'll head a little west of Tobacco Road, although Winston-Salem qualifies, doesn't it?
It does.
Isn't that like the western edge of Tobacco Road?
I never really knew Tobacco Road extended into Wake Forest, but it you know.
But you would think Winston, right? No.
Well, right.
Right.
And Salem.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
it's there.
I would think that's got to be the westernmost point of Tobacco Road. I mean, it's not that 8-mile stretch, to Duke, Carolina, but they do care an awful lot about their ACC hoops. Josh Graham does afternoon drive on the drive. And so he'll join us. He did not want Duke and Carolina to meet in the Final Four. He said, I don't think I could handle it. So now that it's happening, first thing I need to find out, Mark, is can he handle this? Or is this just going to be too much for a hoops-crade North Carolinian who sounds like doesn't have a dog in the fight either?
See, I think the problem here is that the entire state roots for the Tar Heels. There are 6 Duke fans in the state of North Carolina.
A ton of them in New York, though.
Tons. They probably did really well in San Francisco as well. I'm guessing there are rich Duke alumni everywhere. But inside the state, it's all Tar Heels. And they whooped them the last time they played them.
Yes, they did.
And I think they wanted to end with that. I think it would bother them greatly to lose the final game to Duke.
And that is just some of what is in our...
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
So the number is 13. You know how you add up the seeding numbers? Villanova, Duke, Kansas, and North Carolina. Nova and Duke, 2 seeds. Kansas, the 1. North Carolina, an 8. Kansas, after trailing Miami by 6 at the half. Whew. Boy, did they whoop up on the Canes in the second half. Held Miami to, 15 points, something like that? 76-50, the final. Best ever tournament run for Miami. First ever trip to the Elite Eight. Bill Self in Kansas. I give Self credit, Mark. Before the game, he said, hey, pressure's on us, and the pressure's on me. He goes, I do not have a good record in these Elite Eight games. I think he was like 3-7 all time, 3-5 at Kansas. He goes, we got to get my team to relax. We got to play our game. And in the first half, they weren't.
No, they were not. And he got them to relax at halftime.
And then they looked pretty good. 76-50 Miami, and Carolina whooped up on St. Peter's by really more than the final score of 69-49. St. Peter's for the longest time looked as if they weren't even going to get to 40. Villanova guard Justin Moore late Saturday tore his right Achilles. Nova, much like Carolina, only goes 6 deep. And now Nova goes 5 deep. Can all 5 play close to all 40 minutes?
They're going to have to.
Yeah. It'll be Nova against Kansas. Jayhawks a 4-point favorite. I'd lay the 4
As
all
fast
day
as possible.
because of the injury to Moore.
Yes.
And I think that line's going to go up.
I'm with you there, David.
The Carolina Duke line opened at 4 and quickly went to 4.5. People jumping on the Duke train. I think I'd let that thing go a little higher and jump Carolina.
Carolina looks terrific right now.
Yes, they do. Although Duke looked pretty good.
Duke looked really good too.
Yep. So Kansas, Nova, Carolina, Duke. Are these the 4 blue blood programs? Kentucky. But then, you make the argument, UCLA, is Indiana still a blue blood?
No, they're not.
Michigan State's
No.
close,
They're
but
really
no.
close, but no.
So these are probably 4 of the 5.
I think
missing anybody?
You're missing, Kentucky, which you
Right.
mentioned.
These 4 in Kentucky are probably it right now in the sport. 3rd Final Four in 6 years for Nova. This is, by the way, Duke's first trip to the Final Four since 2015. 13th Final Four for Coach K.
No wonder he's retiring.
13th.
Past Wooden to get there.
Yeah. He did say, though, if Wooden had kept coaching, he would have made about 24 of these. I'll say, Wooden only had to win 2 games to get to the Final Four during his tenure. Obviously, Krzyzewski had to win 4 every time to get to the Final Four. The women's tournament, both 1 seeds win. Not a surprise. South Carolina whooped up on 10-seeded Creighton by 30, and Stanford beat Texas by 9. We'll see if it'll be 4-1s. UConn's a 2 seed. They're playing in Connecticut. They're a 4-point favorite against NC State tonight. And then Louisville is a 1 seed and a 4.5-point favorite against 3rd seeded Michigan. This is the furthest Michigan has ever gone in the women's tournament. U.S. men's national team, Mark. They needed to beat Panama. And if they did, they would all but clinch a spot in the World Cup. Well, man, this sucker was over before halftime. It was 4-0 at halftime. 5-1 the U.S. over Panama. Pulisic with a hat trick. They're on the brink. They play Wednesday in Costa Rica. They can lose. They just can't lose by 6. They can lose 5-0. They qualify for the World Cup. 6-0. Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I don't think so either. I remember an NFL game. I think it was 1980. And for some reason, the Eagles and the Cowboys were playing the final game of the regular season. And Dallas had to beat Philly by 25 or more to win the East. The Eagles could lose, just not by 25. And late third quarter, Dallas led Philly 35-10. Philly scored like 17 points, lost, but
covered, essentially.
Yeah, and then they hosted Dallas in the NFC Championship game and won to go to the Super Bowl. But that's the only, you don't get many instances like that. You can lose, just not by 6. NASCAR. He's part of a watermelon farming family in Alva, Florida. Ross Chastain, 29 years old. He had finished 3rd, 2nd, and 2nd in his last 3 NASCAR races. He's not a great road course racer. We've had him on the show many times in the last 3 years as he's made his way up to the Cup Series. And we talked to him one time when he was literally in Vegas getting lessons, road course racing lessons from Boris Said and AJ Allmendinger. Here he is on a road course in Austin. And who's in his rearview mirror for the final 30 minutes of the race? AJ Allmendinger, because Ross Chastain is in the lead. There was like 6 cautions in the final 15 laps. He had the lead all 6 times. And on the last restart, he gets reshuffled back to 2nd. And then it looks like he's in 4th. And then he comes out of it in 1st. And he's halfway through the course. And then he gets bumped back to 3rd. There's only like 8 turns left on the final lap. And like a scene out of Days of Thunder, he goes into the big turn and he bumps Allmendinger, who takes out Alex Bowman, and he goes around both of them. And Ross Chastain wins his first ever Cup race. Alex Bowman was 2nd. He's in the chase. He's a Cup winner.
He's in the chase. That's absolutely fantastic. Good for Ross.
And it was a move, honestly. I don't think this is hyperbole. This is something that Dale Earnhardt would have done. This is something Tony Stewart would have done. This is something Kyle Busch would have done. Allmendinger wasn't happy getting pushed out late, even though he pushed out Ross earlier in the lap.
Chastain, AJ is so good. I've learned so much from him. It's like, how do you beat the guy? He's taught me so much. I feel bad about AJ. I mean, he's going to be upset with me, but we raced hard and he owes me one. Allmendinger said at the end of the day, we all have to look ourselves in the mirror. If you're okay with it, you're okay with it. Each person is different.
Tony Stewart said, if I was Ross Chastain, I'd sleep like a baby tonight.
Like a baby. Everybody in the booth was fine with the move.
Yep. In fact, Clint Boyer, when Chastain got shoved out and fell back to 3rd, they were heading into the next turn, and he said, well, Chastain's going to have to do it to them. In golf, and man, I hate this.
Oh, boy, here it goes. Get ready for a mini Moulton rant.
Not that Scotty Scheffler won the match play. He's playing great. It all started really with the Ryder Cup. He was a captain's pick. Some people questioned it. He performed really well. He won in Phoenix in February. He won at Bay Hill earlier this month. So this is 3 wins in his last 5 starts. He's 25 years old. He's now the new #1 golfer in the world.
Yep.
What? He's got 1 top 5 in a major, and it wasn't last year. I mean, he's never really been in it to win a major. I mean, come on.
He's 25.
So what? 6th youngest to ever be world number one. But I mean, come on. Do you think Scotty Scheffler's number one over John Rahm?
No. But I don't lose any. I lose as much sleep as Ross Chastain's going to lose over something like this.
Scheffler beat Dustin Johnson in the semis 3-1, and then he beat Kevin Kisner 4-3 in the final. He was in the final last year, lost, wins it this year. Chad Ramey, by the way, wins in the Dominican Republic the Punta Cana Championship, his first ever PGA title. NHL, 4 of the 8 games yesterday went overtime. Lightning are back in second place by a point. They beat the Islanders 4-1. They're a point ahead of Toronto and Boston. Toronto beat the Panthers 5-2. Florida with a 6-point lead in the division. Rangers edged Buffalo in overtime 5-4. The Penguins scored 11 against Detroit. They beat
11. Most ever scored in the salary cap era. It's the most goals scored in the salary cap era.
So since that the year they lost, right?
Yeah.
The 05 season. 11-2 Pens over the Wings. Pittsburgh a point up for second in the division over the Rangers, but the Rangers have a game in hand. Wild over the Lance, 3-2 in overtime. Nashville 5-4 over Philly. New Jersey beat Montreal in overtime. Winnipeg did the same to Arizona. College hockey, the Frozen Four is set. The Frozen Four will be in Boston, by the way, with not a single Northeast team in it. Denver's playing Michigan, and Minnesota's playing Minnesota State. And that's basically Mankato, Minnesota, for those of you that don't know, which is about an hour and a half south of Minneapolis. Minnesota beat Western Michigan yesterday 3-0, and the Wolverines 7-4 over Quinnipiac. We've said it before, we'll say it again, and we're not catering to our audience in Tampa, St. Pete. Where should the Frozen Four be every year, Mark?
Tampa.
It's
The
sold
teams
out.
love it. It sells out. Tampa's embraced it when they've had it there. It's the perfect location. It should be like Omaha is for the College World Series. Tampa should be where the Frozen Four is.
By the way, attendance was a really big issue at this college hockey NCAA tournament. There were nobody at these games. Nobody.
They're going to be racing to get to Boston for the Frozen Four.
Yeah, I don't think so. NBA, the Celtics were once below 500. Now they're tied for the Heat with the best record in the East. They beat the T-Wolves by 22 last night. Heat have lost, 3 in a row?
Yeah, it might be 4 in a row tonight.
Phoenix beat the Sixers by 10. Philly's a half a game back. The top 4 in the East all separated by a half a game. Boston, Miami, Philly, and Milwaukee.
Actually, I think we have lost 4 in a row. My bad. The Miami Heat have lost 4 in a row. They don't deserve a we today.
Look at you.
You can't go we when they're winning all these games. And today in Miami Heat history, they won their 27th game in a row. No.
This has been one of the worst weeks in recent Miami Heat history.
Oh, Miami Heat history. Not.
Oh,
That's such a fair weather. Unbelievable. Bail on them.
It is,
They have
you know what?
A rough week.
Did I say I'm bailing on them?
It is the job of a producer to jump ship to a better team.
That is true.
Producers in nature are front runners.
Yep.
I'm allowed to be angry.
He'll be on a different show in no time. Pelicans beat the Lakers 116-108. It means New Orleans is the 9 seed. The Lakers are the 10. LA is only a game ahead of San Antonio, by the way, for the last play-in spot.
I think LeBron should just miss the rest of the season.
Charlotte beat Brooklyn. Those two teams are tied for 8th in the East. Dallas beat Utah. They're the 4 seed. Utah's the 5. Washington over Golden State, and the Knicks beat Detroit.
That was the starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Canada Relief in our Twitch chat room says Philly's worse than Seth Everett, who's rooting for 4 NFL teams. Miller and Moulton. Verne Lundquist is next.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
All right, look, man. I know we're gonna make a comeback.
Who?
I know we are.
We're? What are we gonna do?
Make a comeback.
We're gonna make a comeback?
Yeah, they're gonna make a comeback. They're gonna get it.
We're?
The Miami Heat. But for now, I mean, this is embarrassing. This is Jimmy Butler. Are we good? We're good, right? Because we just extended you. We're good, right? You know, I love Jimmy Butler, but I will always take Spo's side. How many championships does Jimmy Butler have? Okay. Just want to make that clear. And here's another thing. The theme all year has been, once we're healthy, we're going to be unstoppable. These last 4 losses, we've been healthy. And look at what's happened. And I like Oladipo, but I mean,
Did you just bring up Oladipo?
I was saying that the whole year we've always said we're doing this and we're not even fully healthy. Now we're fully healthy. What's happening? And what I said earlier was Jimmy Butler. We're good, right? Are we good?
Well, you're up 17 in the fourth on the Knicks. The Knicks put their second unit on the court and blow you out.
David, I was at a bar for the UM game, and there was one TV in the distant corner with that game on. I checked the score. I'm like, okay, back to the UM game. And then this kid next to me goes, yo, the Heat just lost? I look, and it's the final seconds. Take it down. And I said, what the like yelled. Like,
yep.
Oh, God. And then I am allowed to be pissed. There it is.
Then, man, geez. Did you see the first 2.5 quarters of the game against Brooklyn? There was a 42-minute stretch in which it was the last 10 or so minutes of the fourth quarter of the Knicks game, and then the first 2.5 quarters, and the Heat got outscored by 47 points. Actually, I think it was worse.
I saw a great tweet before that game where it was the last thing the Heat need right now is to chase around Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, no kidding. And Brooklyn had been there since Wednesday night.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And welcome back to Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. It is a pleasure to welcome for the first time here in our third act, but friend of the show, Verne Lundquist is kind enough to join us on this special sports anniversary. 30 years ago today, Leitner hitting the shot, Duke in Kentucky, one of those rare sports moments in which a lot of people remember where they were. And Verne, you remember where you were because you were courtside at the old Spectrum. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
David, I'm doing well. It's good to talk to you again. We had, 11 years together. I think that's the correct number. Yep. Anyway, you're a dear friend, and you know that. And Nancy and I feel that way about you. Both of us do. So, a lot of memories from that 30th. I just, like every old man says, I can't believe where has the time gone? But it's a memorable weekend and game in my life, and it does seem almost impossible that it's been 30 years, almost impossible.
Verne, it was such a memorable game, 104, 103. And I remember I actually listened to the first half on the radio, watched you, was on a drive, listened to the first half, watched you for the second half in overtime. When did you know? Because, you've called thousands upon thousands a game. How early in the game did you know you might have something special? Because the pace was incredible.
Probably in the second half. You know what I did this morning? For the first time, I swear, I was just making sure I had my facts straight. I wanted to find out who the coaching staff was with Mike and if I remembered the starting five and so on. And I was offered the opportunity on my laptop to take. I've never seen the full game. I've just never have. And Raftery called me. We were working in Milwaukee in 2003 in our respective hotel rooms the morning before our game with Kentucky and Marquette. And Bill called me and he said, they're showing Duke, Kentucky on the television right now. And I thought, well, he said, you got to watch this. And I did. The reason I hadn't watched it is because I thought Lenny Elmore and I had done a reasonably good job. And I didn't want the reality to pierce to pierce my perception of what had gone on. And at the end of the telecast, after the celebration and so on, I thought to myself, yeah, we were up to it, but I'd never seen the first 10 minutes. So this morning, I mean, half an hour ago, they was sitting there right in front of me, and I thought, okay. So I watched up until the first television timeout, first time I'd seen it. But, yeah, and that's a long-winded way to get to the answer to your question. Probably midway through the second half. If I recall, Kentucky found itself down almost in maybe double digits. And when they clawed back and did not wilt and did not go away, I thought, boy, this is really something. And then the finish was amazing. And maybe 10 minutes after we had gone off the air, and we did the coach's celebration, we had Leslie Visser was our sideline reporter, and she was standing by and did the interview with Coach K, and I don't think she interviewed Rick Pitino, but Bob Ryan, esteemed columnist for the Boston Globe, came over to our table, and he looked down at Lenny and he said, "Lenny, in '74, you played for Maryland in what I always thought was the greatest basketball game I'd ever seen, North Carolina State. And they went to overtime, and those were the years when only one team from a conference could go to the tournament, and North Carolina State won. And Lenny was a part of that game playing for Maryland. And Bob said, I've always thought that game was the best I'd ever seen. Where would you put that in relation to this one?" And Lenny took his time and thought about it and finally looked up and said to Bob, "This one was better because it meant more. In other words, this is to go to the Final Four." And that gave me a perspective on it that I've never forgotten.
Kentucky shot 57% for the game over 45 minutes and lost, because Duke shot 65% for the game. The two teams combined over 60%, 5 lead changes in the final 31 seconds, Verne, that you referenced. I remember exactly where I was when this game took place, but the first thing that I remember about the game, when did Leitner step on the Kentucky player's chest?
Midway through the second half. And the fellow's name was Aminu Timberlake. And he Leitner planted a size 14 right in his midsection and should have been ejected. At the 20-year anniversary, 10 years ago, CBS brought Lenny, myself, and Christian Leitner into New York. And they sat us down, and we watched highlights from the game. We didn't, and that belies what I just said about not having watched the whole game. We watched it in spurts and in segments. And, of course, we included that part. And what they did, they set up the game, and then they had cameras on the three of us. And they were filming the game and our reaction to it and the conversation going back and forth. And we got to that spot, and Leitner kind of, Leitner can be a testy young man. Well, he's not a young man anymore. He's doing Corona beer commercials. And he's got a white beard. I'm not too old to not notice those things. Anyway, Kristen said, "Oh, I just knew you guys were going to have to show that." And I said, "You said the right words. We had to show it, Christian, because that's a flagrant foul. You should have been ejected." And his explanation of why he did that involves action at the other end under the Kentucky basket. And he thought it was Timberlake. There was a wrestling match for a rebound. And he thought someone had put a headlock on him and had done so too aggressively. So that was his response, was to stomp on Timberlake's chest. Now, think about the course of that game and what the perception of it would have been had he been ejected.
And I remember the conversation you and Lenny on the air in which you pointed out he stepped on him, and Lenny said, "I don't know if it was intentional." And you stopped him and you said, "Oh, yes, it was."
That was just an instinctual reaction to what Lenny was saying. And I thought Lenny was trying to let him down softly. But he had a great game. My God. It was interesting. The game was so good. Leslie Visser was with us, and Kaywood Ledford was a legendary radio broadcaster for the University of Kentucky. He was in his 39th year, And we had decided to pay homage to him because he had announced that whenever Kentucky lost, that would be his last game of his career. And so we had Leslie, the last 6 minutes of regulation and all of overtime, we had Leslie stationed maybe 15 feet on the baseline, away from Kaywood, and she was going to do a feature on him and thank him for all he had done. She never got on the air because the game was too compelling. And just to segue to that, David, when the game was over, one of the things I so remember about the aftermath, Mike Krzyzewski did the huddle, did the roll on the floor with the players and all that sort of thing. And instead of going to Bob Harris, the Duke radio broadcaster's position, he circled back and he went on Kaywood Ledford's Kentucky broadcast to thank him for all that Kaywood Ledford had done for college basketball in the course of 39 years. And then, only then, did he go across and do his spot with Bob Harris.
104-103 in overtime, a frantic pace. There's so much legendary about it. Pitino not guarding Grant Hill on the pass to Leitner. Pitino, when they were down 12, heading to a TV timeout, stomping onto the court and telling his worn-down Kentucky players, look at them. They're exhausted. We've got them right where we want them. And the Kentucky players looked at the defending national champions down 12 and believed their coach and pressed more and came back to tie it. 5 lead changes in the final 31 seconds. Verne, you've done a lot of things, all right, in our short amount of time before we go to break. This one's up there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, David. No question about it. It's in my top 5, and I've been blessed. And I think anybody who does this business, who is involved in what we do for a living, hopes you go to an event and you hope you do a good job, but more than that, you hope that something memorable might break out in front of you, and then you hope that you're adequately equipped verbally to put a subtitle to the moment. And I've laughed about it. I was doing a radio show 10 years ago with a guy in Atlanta named Steak Shapiro. He had a radio, and he said, the Leitner call, are you particularly proud of that? And I said, well, not particularly. All I did was channel my inner Marv Albert, and screamed, yes. It wasn't poetry. It was a punctuation mark. But the game itself, I mean, it served its purpose. My adjective or my punctuation point. But here we are 30 years. You remember when Gordon Hayward and Butler and Duke were in the championship game, and Gordon Hayward made a half-court shot, and you take sense of pride of ownership, and when that thing hit the rim and bounced out, I breathed a heavy sigh of relief because if that goes in, we're number 2. There's no doubt. But it's held up, David, over the years.
Yes, it has.
The quality of play. Leitner did tell us that in the huddle, when Sean Woods hit that extraordinary shot, banked it off the glass over Leitner at the free throw, just top of the key. Leitner immediately called timeout, and he said they'd been drilled to do that by Krzyzewski. And when they got in the huddle, Mike, who can use wide-ranging vocabulary that includes words that are not printable or shouldn't be verbalized on this radio show, he looked at Grant Hill, and he said, this time, can you make the adjective shot and pass? They had tried it against Wake Forest, and Grant put too much spin on the ball, and it curved off Leitner's hand out of bounds. He says, can you get the ball to Leitner? And Grant said, yes, sir, I will. And I still think Rick Pitino probably wakes up in the night and said, why didn't I put somebody to defend the inbound pass? But he didn't.
Pitino famously said he did it once his first year at Boston University. It cost him a game, and for 8 years he always guarded the inbound. And only the second time he didn't do it in his career was Grant Hill to Leitner. He's the incomparable Verne Lundquist. He's kind enough to reflect on 30 years ago today, Kentucky and Duke. Miller and Moulton here.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Are you sure? Yeah, here, have it. I'm like,
Right. Yeah, it's awesome.
picture book, but it was like, hey, I got to pull off a gift there. All right, after watching the madness, how many teams should there be in a college football playoff? I guess. Good with that?
Yeah. 4, 8, 12, 16, right? Craig Silver produced that game with Verne 30 years ago. Craig Silver has been the longtime executive producer of the SEC on CBS. And Craig was in St. Peter's with Ian Eagle and Spinarco and Jamie doing the weekend this past weekend. It's a pretty good run. That was when I first met Craig. It was our second game together. Alabama, Arkansas. We got stuck in a big storm, a hotel restaurant. We couldn't leave for like 2 hours. Thought Larinaga had a great quote afterwards. He said, we started playing the score and not just playing ball.
I think all reporters should be punched in the mouth for Larinaga's great line, and not one person laughed after their win against Iowa State. Well, we turned it over 12 times. The guys will have to run suicides today. But and he looks at us, not one of you laughed. Not one. That's a joke. Not one of you even laughed. And then he answered the question. But I'm like, That's a good line.
That's a quality line.
Oh, we committed. It was 14 turnovers. I mean, the guys are going to have to run. So, how do you feel about the winning? Well, we committed 14 turnovers. I mean, the guys will have to run suicides. And he just stops. And, I mean, it's still deadpan. No one got it. But, man, was it good. Okay, time to get to work, Philly.
He's still in the hallway.
Yeah, he's playing golf in the hallway.
Getting back.
Gina Birch's about to go
Oh, yeah.
Will Smith on him if he doesn't watch it. Hey, Philly, let's go.
Hey, Philly.
There's other radio shows in this building, right? Yeah.
No, but
she's doing a radio show next door.
He left again.
Gina already quit?
She's not there?
Well, no, not like that. She's doing a radio show. You got to respect the other people in this building.
I know. And if she was there, I would have stopped. And I had a timer. Don't worry. There it is.
Paul, I don't know if he had a Cuban coffee this morning.
No, but I took a shower. So that helped.
Ah, now you're on to something. Makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a big difference.
Finished my homework at the buzzer last night, too. 11:58.
Oh, online?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour. Hope you had a great weekend. Thanks for starting your week off with us, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. It was great catching up with Verne. That was a conversation that we taped late last week. Verne lives in the Mountain Time Zone, so, he's not getting up
at 5 a.m. for us.
I mean, he's a friend of the show and all that, but it only goes so far. Do we have a poll question?
We do. And it's based a little bit on the madness, but we sneak football into it.
Oh, well done.
After watching the madness, how many teams should there be in a college football playoff?
Oh, look at you there, trying to correlate the two.
4, 8, 12, and 16. I was always a 6 guy. I think you and I, Gary Danielson, was on that train, and we always thought 6 was a good number. That ship has sailed.
Yeah, apparently that is not even under consideration.
And while I was always smaller is better, I'm fine with 12. Because the idea of the possibility of games on campus for a college football playoff intrigues the hell out of me.
So the first 4 get buys, 5 plays 12, 6, 11, 7, 10, 8, 9.
But Big 10 and Big 12 and Pac-12 teams would host games in some uncomfortable places.
And in theory, some SEC teams would have to venture into the cold.
SEC 3 and 4 would have to go on the road in the first round. SEC 1 and 2 would probably have a bye, David.
Well, they seem to be getting 2 of the top 4 a lot these days. That is true. Bama and Georgia would get first-round buys.
But, I mean, A&M might have to go to Ohio or something like that.
I like the question, but the question, can I dig down on it a little bit? Do you feel, because there's a big difference between hoops and football.
That's why I'm not putting 64 on the list.
All right, you need a lot more guys.
I don't need St. Peter's in this tournament.
Right.
But I do need Cincinnati, if you know what I mean.
Regularly is what you're saying.
Yes. I think when we watch the college basketball tournament, it does become a little bit of a problem that we don't even represent all the conferences in the college football playoff. Hell, one conference can't even get in the college football playoff.
No, they cannot. No, Pac-12 need not apply.
Right. That seems to be a problem.
Big 12, we don't lose your invitation in the mail, but I must admit sometimes we send it out late. And so the question, because we're left here with Nova, Duke, Kansas, and Carolina. I mean, we have said these are 4 of the modern blue bloods. I mean, if you want to add UCLA, that's been to 4 Final Fours in the last 15 years, okay. If you still want to keep them in as one of the blue bloods, but we think Indiana has dropped,
no question,
off of the blue bloods line. I mean, they have not been beyond a Sweet 16 in the last 20 years.
But if we would have just started this tournament in the Final Four with 4 blue bloods, we wouldn't have had a whole lot of excitement. I mean, if we just start with Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State and whomever else you want to throw in this sucker.
Whereas here, yes, we end up with Nova, Duke, Kansas, and Carolina, but think of all the entertainment and the excitement that we had leading up to this.
And look, if I'm going to take this, Carolina is, in this case, Florida, A&M, Auburn. You know what I'm getting at here, David.
Right.
Because they're an 8 seed. So there's someone that had to go on the road in football theory. This is an SEC team because the ACC is thought of as the number 1 college basketball conference. Whether it is this year or not is irrelevant.
Right.
The ACC is the premier college basketball conference.
They're the gold standard year in, year out.
And as an 8 seed, they're not one of the 2 best. They weren't 2 high seeds in this thing. They snuck in, so to speak.
With 2 weeks left in the regular season, they were a bubble team.
So this is Auburn beating Alabama in the Iron Bowl. And all of a sudden the committee says, maybe they get the spot, even though Alabama still goes to the SEC championship. Maybe that wins enough to put Auburn in. And now Auburn has to go on the road and play
like Clemson or Ohio State in a 1-8 matchup, but they win.
Right.
So does this year's madness in particular get you to change your thinking at all as to how many teams you want in the college football playoff? And we acknowledge big difference between hoops and football in terms of how many people you need to succeed and all that. But that's why we don't propose something ridiculous like a 64-team playoff or a 32-team playoff even.
16 seems crazy to me.
It does to me as well. It does to me as well. And there are other levels of college football that have 16. And I think one may even have 24. I
mean, 12 or 8 seems to be the number, but I think 12 is going to end up being the number.
Well, for example, if you add up the seeds, Nova and Duke were both 2s. Kansas was a 1. Carolina's an 8. So that adds up to 13. Well, if in theory, if you add up 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's 10. So, if we were to expand this, Mark, whether it's an 8-team playoff or a 12 or whatever it's going to be, team playoff, just to get the numbers to add up to 13, because we would assume the 1 and the 2 seeds would win.
Yes.
Even if they get a first round bye, they'd win their quarterfinal, they'd get in. Well, that only obviously adds up to 3. So now you need the next 2 teams combined to add up to 10. Well, remember, 3's playing 6 and 4's playing 5. So would you get a 4 and a 6? So even if we just had a Final Four that was 1, 2, 4, and 6, that would be the equivalent of what we have here. And that's not that crazy. I mean, that's only one upset. The seeds 5 through 8 presumably beat seeds 9 through 12, but then the 6 seed who beat the 11 then comes back and goes on the road, or who knows if they incorporate the bowls, and they beat the 3 seed. And that would be an upset.
Well, yeah, I mean, because there's no 6-11s here. We don't have that many teams.
Right.
So, I mean, I think if you get this thing past 8, you've accomplished kind of what this Final Four is. That means a 3 seed gets there.
Well, to a Final Four, you mean? In football, or the Final 2?
To the Final Four.
Well, 1, 2, 3, and 4 add up to 10.
Right. I think anytime you get this sucker more than 8, then you have major upsets. 1, 2, 3, and 4, right, in each side. Unless we're talking in 2 different languages here, because you've got...
Yeah, I'm adding up the 1 seed, the 2 seed, the 3 seed, and the 4. You add them up, that adds up to 10. So you keep reducing it to 8, and that's why it's confusing me.
Okay, because the 4 is the worst seed that's going to get in.
Right.
So
you're thinking about a 5, 6, 7, or 8 winning.
We should have rehearsed this before we did it. Because I only have 12 teams in it, so I'm trying to figure out where we're getting these high seeds, or even 16. So we probably should have gone over this first, because I'm more confused than when I started. I'm about to slap somebody, as a matter of fact.
Well, hey, Will, take it easy. I didn't mention your wife at all.
Take your tournament
out of your mouth. Don't you mention my tournament ever
Take
again.
My seedings out of your right.
So that's our poll question. It was not meant to confuse, even though it's apparently confused the hosts.
But 4, 8, 12, or 16, how many in your estimation should there be in the college football playoff? Because it doesn't matter what time of year it is, we can get a poll question in about football.
Yeah. Miller and Moulton. We'll talk college hoops in an hour. Josh Graham will join us from Winston-Salem. Duke and Carolina meeting for the first time ever in the NCAA tournament. Wow. Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled, marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Alabama would be like, wait a minute. We're so good, we don't get a home game?
Right. Ohio State.
Right.
Listen, y'all think I'm
This is
playing,
where
bro.
we get back to,
All right.
Then you're only using 3 bowls again,
Maybe
No.
which you and I, of course, are fine with. We don't give a shit about the bowls.
And
look, maybe not a sugar mama, all right, but like I need a wingman out here, man. No one wants to be my wingman.
Alabama.
If any of you
Notre Dame can't play A&M.
Granddaughter, daughter, 20s,
And the loser gets to go to the Outback Bowl.
I'd love to
I'm
take
sorry,
her.
the Tampa Bay Bowl.
It'd be great.
Yeah, I'm
It'd be great.
totally with you.
I'm always trying to be
With the
friends,
11 seed.
We can do this next segment. It is March 20th.
Sure.
A girl in her 20s can definitely be a woman.
Here's a hell of a paragraph. I'm reading Bob Pockrass's whole thing on Chastain. He just put it out. A watermelon farmer from Florida, Chastain has had a roller coaster career in which he drove for underfunded teams early in his career and lost the best ride of his career when the Ganassi team-sponsored DC Solar business collapsed amid a federal investigation into $1 billion fraud scheme. Yeah.
Yep.
But
And you're saying
the sentence before is it's understanding why Chastain would drive as rough as possible to win. It's important to know his story.
I'm sorry. I thought it was Dale Earnhardt. I really did. I'm like, man, the old school racer. Tell me they didn't love it.
I did because I have his number. I did shoot him a text.
I did too. Absolutely.
I said, congratulations, young man. That was awesome. Can't wait to get you on the show to talk about it.
I sent him a text on behalf of Miller and Moulton.
Getting jiggy with it. Na, 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 na. Isn't that a Will Smith song, though? Yeah, that song slaps, let me tell you. Giggity.
There you go, Bowman. He says, generally I try to race clean for the most part. At the end of the race, I didn't run anybody. I tried to take advantage of two guys running into each other, and it didn't work out for me. So I'm not mad. I understand the 16 being mad, and I understand the one doing what he did, but we put on a hell of a show for the fans. There you go. There's a guy that gets it.
Oh, Drawny, I agree with you. That's just a little easier said than done now. Hey, but if Verne could do it, well, I mean, he didn't do it with that specifically, but Verne taught me anything's possible.
So they had the race and the World Golf in the same city, huh?
Yeah.
10
How about
seconds.
that?
Something.
We're coming back.
People are into that hill at the road course.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us. Josh Graham, talk a little college hoops 1 hour from now. Hoops is included in our poll question, which also incorporates college football. First, by the way, remember our poll question on Friday?
Yeah.
It was, are you rooting for Coach K? Because they had won Thursday night, so they were a game away from the Final Four. And we asked folks, were you rooting for Coach K to make the Final Four? 58% said no.
I understand. I was part of that 58%.
Were you ever a Coach K Duke fan? Like when they first, 86, he makes his first final. They make the Final Four, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 94. I mean, that's when they became what they are.
I wasn't a hater, but I loved UNLV.
Okay.
So
91 crushed you.
That's probably when it started. That's probably when it started.
You were okay when UNLV beat them by 30 the year before in the title.
I enjoyed that. That UNLV team was so good.
Yeah. Wins the title in 90, unbeaten. Everybody comes back. They're unbeaten going to the Final Four.
Their defense was so underrated.
Greg Anthony, Larry Johnson. I don't think Augman was on that team. I thought Augman was on the 87 team that went to the Final Four.
And Anderson Hunt, who was a bit player, but he was a Detroit kid. So anytime the Michigan kids went and were good somewhere, I always tried to pay attention. I think he was a Detroit Southwestern kid, if memory serves me right.
Because when Duke beat UNLV in 91, they were wearing the white hats.
Yep.
They were still, they hadn't gotten over the hump. They hadn't won the big one yet. They were good. We respected them. But, yeah, I mean, UNLV wore the black hats, and Duke beat them. Then Duke beats Kansas. That's, by the way, 91 was the closest Duke and UNC had ever come to meeting in the tournament before. And they damn near played for the national championship. And the irony was it was Carolina against Kansas, Roy Williams at Kansas, and Dean Smith at Carolina. Dean gets ejected from the game. Remember that? He got a ridiculous technical early in the first half, and then they called him for being out of the coach's box.
I loved when they used to call that because no one was ever in it. I mean, the coaches were never in the coach's box, and it would just be at some point they needed to call a T, and it was the way for the refs to try to gain some semblance of control back with these coaches. And then and that usually would set the coach off even more because the other guy was out of the box too at the same time.
Less than a minute to go in the game, and Dean Smith gets called for a technical for being out of the coach's box. And Kansas upsets Carolina in the first semifinal. Carolina was favored. And then, of course, UNLV is a clear favorite over Duke. I mean, they'd beaten them by 30 the year before, and basically the same two teams came back. And then, of course, Duke wins. And so if Carolina had held up their end of the bargain, they would have met for the national championship.
But you're right. That's the game that began the legend of Coach K. Because they'd been whooped. And we were all expecting them to get whooped again.
Yeah. I mean, they were favored over Louisville when they lost the 86 final because they were the number one team in the country. They go to the Final Fours in 88 and 89, and they get beat. And in the 89 game, they were up like 20 on Seton Hall, and Seton Hall came back and beat them by 20. I mean, and Coach K's got the reputation, can't win the big one. They get to the title game in 90. He gets beat by 30. And now here they are going to the Final Four in 91, and they're going to lose.
It was really a foregone conclusion.
I mean, that was the UNLV Invitational right there.
Yep.
And so then they win, and a lot of people are happy for him. It's like, you know what? Good for him. Good for them. They've had a great run, blah, blah, blah. And then at some point during 92 is kind of when it changed. 4 years of Leitner, maybe a few people got sick and tired of Leitner by his fourth year. It's kind of like how players are with Urban Meyer in college. By the end of their tenure, they're like, I got to get out of here.
Or by week 2 in Jacksonville.
Well, right. And just so you guys know, okay, if I cut you, you won't be making more than $15 an hour the rest of your life.
I don't know what you're talking about, Coach, but I drove by 6 signs on the way here that they're starting at $21 an hour.
Say, no, you don't think much of me, Coach, but I'm going to do better than that. I digress.
So we put the poll question up, and I went right to college football because, well, we can. But David and I, during the break, there's one flaw in this whole thing to David and I. Because I don't know about you, David, but I think that 12 is the bare minimum when this thing gets done. And I'm okay with 12. But as we were talking about during the break, 5's going to play 12, 6, 11, 7, 10, 8, 9 in on-campus games. 1 through 4 don't get on-campus games? You mean you're one of the 4 best teams in the country, and the 5th place team gets to host a game and
Right.
we have to travel?
Right.
Explain to me how that's fair.
It doesn't seem as if it's going to work. Wait, and then because they win, we get to play on a neutral field? So they get the cash from the home game, and we don't?
And they get a home game. Because
Right.
the cash at these schools, yeah, they'll complain about it, but they all have plenty of cash. What they're going to complain about is not having a home game. What their fan base is going to complain about is not having a home game. So the biggest problem that I see with 12 is how much complaining 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to do.
Can't do 16, though. It's too big. It just is.
I agree.
So you're thinking then the number gets reduced to 8? And this way, in the first round, in the quarterfinal round, you have home games.
I would rather see that than 16 all day, every day. And the other part about 12 that I am petrified about is 5 plays 12. Just for sake of argument, Notre Dame plays Texas A&M. Don't even care who wins. The loser then gets to go play in the Tampa Bay. Is that what it is now?
Yeah, I know. It's not Outback Bowl anymore. Got changed over the weekend. I forget what it got changed to.
Just the Tampa Bay Bowl for now, isn't it?
Is that giving them more time to find a sponsor?
But we can't have losers
Then playing in bowls.
then play in bowl games.
I'm with you. But also the bowl games, once again, none of us care about the bowl games.
No, the only people that care about the bowl games are ESPN
Well,
and the bowl games.
well, ESPN's kind of a big deal. They are bankrolling a nice chunk of the sport, and they are bankrolling all but 4 of the bowl games. So they get a voice.
I got you.
But that's why when they sit down to negotiate this, it's going to get tricky. The number is tricky because if you go with 12 and you want home games, that's great. But what if the top 4 seeds are complaining? And you would think the SEC would be amongst the biggest complainers.
Right. They would have 2 home games that are taken away from them damn near every year.
But remember, the SEC was the one pushing the 12-team playoff. Sankey knew that his teams were going to lose out on home games here, but he also knows he's going to get double the number of teams in. I mean, they're thinking with 12, they're going to get 5 teams. Now, I think they're going to be hard-pressed to get more than 4, but getting back to the number, as you've been watching this March Madness, even though we ended up with blue bloods in the Final Four in Nova, Duke, Kansas, and Carolina, even though Carolina was seeded in 8, has this tournament shown college football how much they need to open it up? That even if you end up with just big boys at the end, you can create a lot of excitement and interest in your sport, even if you end up with 4 heavyweights at the end.
How many Division I college football conferences do we have now?
10. You got the Power 5.
No. So if you put 10 in, if everybody got a bid,
Right.
and there were 6 at-larges,
Oh, I know.
is that the only way? I'm not suggesting it, but the only way to realistically get to 16 is 10 auto bids.
Yes. Yes. Now, obviously, Sankey and the big boys, they don't want that. Okay. They want to provide 1 or 2 spots for those other 5 conferences to fight for.
You know, we went however many years before a 16 beat a 1, David. But it finally happened.
Right.
Could you imagine the Sun Belt,
Conference USA, the MAC?
Well, and I'm kind of a Sun Belt and MAC because those are the bottom feeders, aren't they?
Yeah, I would
Those
agree
are the
with that.
2 worst conferences.
Yeah, and Conference USA fights for it, so those are the
Right.
bottom 3.
Right. Toledo beating Alabama.
Yeah, I can't picture it ever. Ever. But the question becomes, would the football fan even be interested in seeing the attempt? Like what you've talked about, if they go to 16, and the 16 would be the MAC school, the 15 would be the Sun Belt school, and the 14 would be the Conference USA champion. If you pretty much knew that, and maybe, you know, what
There's going to be a year that it'll change, but by and large, that's what it's going
16,
to be.
15, and 14 would be that. Do you want to see the Conference USA champion, the Sun Belt champion, and the MAC champion playing 1, 2, and 3 on the road in the first round of the college football playoff?
More than I want to see any of the bad, more than I want to see the Bahamas Bowl. But I don't know if that's how you want me to vote on this.
Well, let's face it. They're going to do whatever makes them the most money.
And at some point, even though they came up with the original idea of 12 and it came out of the SEC, at some point, the home gate's got to mean something to these schools.
Now, it's pointed out that back in 2003, Northern Illinois beat Alabama. Right, Alabama wasn't what it is now. Also, that Alabama team was not a 1, 2, or 3 seed in a hypothetical 16-team NCAA tournament.
And here is the comment that we get on the text line. And he's 100% right. But basketball, this proves our point. It's exactly what I don't think the extra teams will matter much. It will still be the same 3 or 4, maybe 5 teams that have a chance. Yep. Right now in basketball, that's what it looks like.
Nova, Duke, Kansas, North Carolina.
But we got St. Peter's. And we got Miami going to their first ever Elite 8. There was a lot of great stuff that happened in and around this tournament to get us to the point that we are now in the Final Four.
And do we think that basketball and football are so different that you can't make the comparison and that there's no way to essentially, rig up a football tournament that will ever compare to this? Or is this an argument most years that, hey, football really needs to expand? It will work. It will create more interest, even if 2 or 3 of the 4 teams seemingly every year are the same.
It will get back to the old line that they love so much, that every game matters. Because winning a conference would then matter. Winning a conference would then give you the opportunity. And, David, you had a friend that coached locally here that ended up at Eastern Michigan. They shouldn't even be Division I. They somehow finagled their way to doing it. But there's not much for the Eastern Michigans and the Western Michigans and the Central Michigans football-wise to play for anymore. A bad bowl game. I don't know if this does more to help those conferences out or not.
It's another reason why I don't think we'll ever go to 16, because I don't think the Power 5 conferences have any desire to help out the MAC and the Sun Belt and Conference USA get better kids and be better.
And what's the biggest difference between football and basketball? Basketball is still run by the NCAA. They theoretically care for all the schools. Football's run by, Greg Sankey.
Make a dadgum good point, Mark. Miller and Moulton. Our poll question at floridasportsnetwork.com. The Mark Miller, that David Moulton. No, the other way around on Twitter.
Flip
Vote.
that. Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, the Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with the Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, the Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with the Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. We're listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
They didn't play Pitt this year in the ACC tournament. Oh, wait, are you talking football?
Yes, I
Oh,
am.
I'm sorry. I'm looking. Yes. Pitt won. Pitt won the ACC title.
So Pitt, I was just going to have some fun here.
45-21.
All right, so Pitt won that one. Cincinnati won theirs.
Pitt was number 15 when they
Who won
won
the
it.
Big 12?
Baylor.
Michigan. I have no idea who won. UTSA, I think, beat Western Kentucky. Because Notre Dame would have gotten in. I mean, there's 11 teams. If you do this, there's only 5 at-large bids. The Buckeyes would get one. Sparty would have got one based on rankings. Old Miss would have got one.
Louisiana won the Sun Belt. Napier.
No, Louisiana. Yeah, I'm sorry. Conference USA, I mean.
Okay.
It would have been, I had the game.
Western Kentucky Conference, UTSA.
Yeah, and then, but okay, so there's 11 in, by the way. If you do this, just in theory, there's 11 in, because Notre Dame's in last year.
Right.
Michigan State and Ohio State are going to both get in. That's 2 of the 5. Ole Miss is 3 of the 5. Oklahoma's going to get in. Like, I'm trying to figure out how many SEC teams. See, I don't think the SEC would have gotten 3 last year.
UTSA won. And 41. They were not ranked.
If the United States switched to a 4-day week, would you eliminate Monday or Friday?
Neither.
I think you give people the option. Give businesses the option. Monday through
Still
Thursday,
gotta work,
Tuesday through
still
Friday.
got to work 5 days, but people would have the option.
Oh, that's how you would do it?
Wait.
I think the businesses would still be open 5 days.
Got it. But employees would either do Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday.
Yeah.
Not bad.
But okay, so all I'm saying is that with these 10 teams in, Notre Dame's in. That's 11.
Coming back.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the third and final hour of Miller and Moulton for those of you in Port Charlotte and Venice, Tampa, St. Pete, and the greater Lake City area. Halfway home for those of you in the 239. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. Josh Graham in a little more than 30 minutes. He joins us from Tobacco Road, where Duke and Carolina are meeting in the NCAA tournament for the first time ever. Coming up in the Final Four, the late game on Saturday. The early game will be Kansas and Villanova. Kansas a 4.5 point favorite. Duke a 4.5 point favorite.
I don't know since the first round if I've picked a game right with the numbers, so I'll just stay away from all of that.
I've had a good tournament from the numbers. My bracket was a disaster, but I've had a good tournament for the numbers. I will say I'd be all over Kansas right now. I just think that the Achilles injury to Justin Moore for Nova, and I know it's tough to bet against Nova. They've won 14 of 15 and all that, and all the pressure will be on the Jayhawks, and they haven't always performed in the NCAA tournament when all the pressure and expectations were on them. But
well, you're locked into the now. I'm locked into the never will happen during the entire commercial break.
All right.
David has tried to talk me out of this. He's ignored me a couple different times during that last commercial break, and I've persisted. So I'm taking it on the air whether he likes it or not.
Don't make me slap you.
We're at that point. I'm not going to talk about any family members. I'm just going to talk about a 16-team playoff for a moment.
You make fun of my wife's hair all you want.
I want more big hair.
What, from the 80s? My wife would love to go back to the Bon Jovi hair.
In fact, I'd like to have the two of you over for dinner, but the prerequisite is both of our wives have to go with 80s hair, and just to see which can get the most height.
I'll tell you what, your wife's 80s hair, from what I saw, was there was
wider, not as much height.
Yes, I think my wife might have won
more height.
The height.
Yeah,
but yes, your wife had the width thing going,
just with the hair. All right. While we've been doing this poll question on a college football playoff, you and I both agree that 12's uncomfortable because if there are going to be games on campus, we're trying to figure out how 1 through 4 wouldn't get them.
Yeah, listen, and this is not our proposal. This is the proposal that Sankey and the Notre Dame AD and the Big 12 commissioner, and I forget who the other guy was, that said, yeah, this is the one we want to go with.
But if you went to 16,
right,
and all 10 conferences champions get in,
right, and this is more NCAA tournament basketball type of deal here. You're going to give because all 31 conference champions get an automatic bid,
which means Northern Illinois would have gotten a bid for beating Kent State, which means Utah State would have gotten a bid for beating San Diego State. And it would mean Texas San Antonio would have gotten a bid for beating Western Kentucky.
The Roadrunners.
Everybody else, including the Sun Belt champion Louisiana, were ranked teams. Even, Pitt and Louisiana have been the 2 worst ranked teams, but they would all get in. Now, here's the kicker. Notre Dame would have been in last year. That's 11. There's only 5 spots left. Ohio State and Michigan State would have taken 2 of those spots. Oklahoma would have taken a 3rd.
So now we're down to 2 bids left.
And I haven't given the SEC any bids yet.
No, you've just kept it to Alabama and Georgia.
Now, I think that Ole Miss would have had a bid last year. They were ranked 11th. They had 10 wins. They would have gotten a bid. I don't think anybody else from the SEC would have gotten a bid.
So in your world, if we're going 16, but we're giving out spots to the 10 Division I conference champions, we're really creating some first-round matchups where it's big guy, little guy, a la the NCAA basketball tournament.
And based on rankings, Oklahoma State and Oklahoma would have gotten in. Michigan and Michigan State would have gotten in. Ole Miss and Notre Dame would have been your 6 at-large bids.
I think people would.
I think 3 Big 12, 3 Big 10, 3 SEC. It was a bad year for the ACC. And, well, I mean, let's be honest. The Pac-12 is the Pac-12. They get 1 bid. They're a 1-bid league at this point.
So we would have had 7 1-bid leagues.
Yes.
And then we would have had 3 from the Big 12.
Yep.
Baylor, and then the 2 Oklahomas.
Correct.
Right? All right. 3 from the Big 10, Michigan, and then Ohio State, Michigan State.
Correct.
And then 3 from the SEC, Bama as the champion, Georgia, and you think Ole Miss would have been
by rankings, by numbers, I think they're the team that would have gotten in.
Well, one of them, though, we have to take out because Notre Dame would have gotten in, and they're not a conference champion because we have the 10 conference champions, but you think Notre Dame would have qualified. So one of those at-larges from the Big 12, Big 10, or SEC, we'd have to remove. And it probably would have come down to Oklahoma State or Notre Dame.
No, because there'd be 6 at-larges. Notre Dame gets an at-large. Michigan State, Ohio State, Ole Miss, the 2 Oklahoma schools. There's 5 at-larges besides Notre Dame. You're right. I'm saying, yeah, good. So yeah, so 1's out.
Yeah, and it probably would have been either Ole Miss or Oklahoma State.
Right.
Or Oklahoma. It would have Big 12 or SEC school would have likely been the odd team out. Could we live with that? Would that be better? Would that generate interest? The only reason to do it is twofold. I mean, they'll do anything for money.
But interest is money.
There you go. And remember, to do this, in theory, is going to do what?
Crush the Bulls.
There you go. Now, at least in our world, it will. Because to us, if you lose in the first round here, you don't then play a bowl game in 14 days. We think, no, you're done.
And I don't think the kids would want to. I don't think the coaches would want to.
No, I definitely don't.
Well, the coaches would. The kids would hate it.
And ADs might because they're looking at money.
But they wouldn't get any fan support. It would actually be a loser. What fan base? Now, think about this realistic. Florida State, because I know you're down and out in Miami. Just work with me here for a second. All of these fan bases. Florida, you play in a 5-12 game. Or I guess it wouldn't even be that. You play in a 7-10 game and you lose. You really going to fork out the money to go to the Tampa Bay Bowl and be all in?
No.
I just don't think that happens.
And we're having this discussion because our poll question is based on what we've just seen, March Madness. And granted, we had things that happened this year that had never happened before, of 15 making it to the Elite Eight. Miami makes it to an Elite Eight, even though they're an ACC school, but a double-digit seed, and they make it to the Elite Eight. Canes had never gone as far as the Elite Eight before.
And I know some people want to eliminate conference championship games. Those aren't going to happen. They're too much money to the conferences.
And quite frankly, the networks, I mean, the Big Ten title game and the SEC title game alone. I mean, do not be surprised if in future years those games are standalone. That the conferences go, we can make more money if we actually take this game and remove it from the television package. I mean, I know there have been discussions in the last few years in which they said, so how much do you think? Because CBS has gotten the best deal in modern television to televise the SEC. They're paying like $55 million a year. They sound like a 15-year deal in which they only paid $55 million a year. And the joke was, if they took the SEC championship game out and sold that separately, how much could they get for it? And a few years ago, I remember a couple of TV people going, they could easily get $100 million. That's just for the championship game. Now, granted, their championship game is arguably the best of the bunch year in, year out.
But don't ever kid yourself. The Big Ten championship game gets similar eyeballs.
Right.
Whether or not it's the best football is irrelevant. The alumni, the amount of people that watch the Big Ten championship is a similar number.
So those games aren't going anywhere. And that ain't happening. Because all that money goes where? Into the conference's coffers. They ain't giving that up.
And they don't share it with anybody.
So that's not happening.
Now, why I don't think the 16-team theory will ever work is that the SEC and the Big Ten aren't giving the MAC conference any money. Because they don't have to.
Right. And it's not in their best interest, we don't believe, and they don't believe, to help pump up the MAC and the Sun Belt and Conference USA. I mean, why do they want those schools to be able to recruit better players? Which, if in theory, every MAC school on the recruiting trail could say, hey, you help us win the conference title, you're in the playoff.
And from a transfer portal standpoint, teams could find themselves with the ability to load up here. And Alabama doesn't want to lose to Central Michigan, ever. They don't even want to let that opportunity come to a possibility of arising.
But it's our poll question for you. You've just watched the madness for the last 2 weeks. And so we asked the question, should football expand to a number that creates a little bit of what has just been created, or no? And that's why we give you 4 choices with the poll question, number of teams that should be in the college football playoff after watching the madness.
With that plea, David, 8% of our audience thinks 16 teams should get in. 32% says 12 teams. 48% wants an 8-team playoff. That right now, far and away the leader in the clubhouse. 12% of you want to keep it at 4.
If the number's 8, do you think all 5 Power 5 conference champions should get automatic berths?
Yes. I
do not. I actually agree with Sankey, in which Sankey's like, listen, you got to be of a certain level. I mean, if you're 8-4 and you're ranked 19th in the country, I don't know what to tell you. You don't get in.
Yeah, and I don't understand why I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but why are you playing the games? Why are you having a conference championship if it doesn't mean anything? The conference championship has to mean something.
And I would argue it did. It knocked the team who would have been in out.
Miller and Moulton. A little more college basketball talk coming up in 20 minutes right here on Miller and Moulton again on the Florida Sports Network. Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Don't yell at me. Don't swing early.
Right. Trying to help you.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. The other one is that she had some sort of school project. They've been reading Charlotte's Web. So she had to do like this craft thing. Well, both my wife and I are not crafty.
Right.
So Eve helped her the whole day with the whole craft thing. And I'm getting the looks like I'm supposed to help. And I'm just looking at her like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you here. I'll make the dinners and the lunches. But I'm not doing crafts. Hoping craft time's about done here in the 3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah, I'm with you. That wouldn't
I
interest
don't
me at all.
understand why parents have to do homework. I'm not being an ass. But to come up with a whole, I mean, this is, shoebox. I mean, of course, my wife goes overboard. She's at Michael's buying crap. It's like, I almost started feeling badly for St. Peter's in the first half. That was just.
Yeah.
I hear you. Shoot some hogs. Let's have some roast pig. Come on, let's go.
The only time I ever went hunting in my life, I killed a hog and fed an entire Super Bowl party.
Nice.
It was glorious.
Did you hunt from a truck?
No. Well, we went to the spot via truck.
No, but you're right. Okay.
We were on foot and we saw him in
With
the
dogs?
distance. I think there was a dog. I was young. I was like 10. We saw a couple in the distance. First try.
Nice.
Although it was like a 30 caliber and the recoil hit my nose so hard my whole head was ringing. Like my earphones like popped off.
Duke's going to win the whole damn thing.
Are we sure they're beating Carolina?
I don't know. No, I'm really not too mad about Miami losing.
You shouldn't be.
Kansas
Got
is a
beat by a
better
team.
Better team.
Made it to the Elite Eight.
Yeah. I mean, I stopped watching with 4 minutes left, but I was like, you know what? It was a hell of a season.
Yeah. Had a lot of quality regular season wins.
They exceeded the hell out of my expectations. I
Far.
thought we were going to be terrible this year.
Yeah, Johnny Mac, I'm with you. And granted, I think all of us in these parts were rooting for Chastain, but
Nothing better than 3-year Letterman retweeting the slap. I'm a big fan of this. As a youth football coaching legend, I teach my players to solve their problems with their fists, not empty words. Ah.
10 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Josh Graham will join us. Host of The Drive in Winston-Salem, afternoons. Huge college hoops fan. All over the ACC. Duke and Carolina going to meet in the NCAA tournament for the first time ever. And we all know the storylines around it. Final Four. Best rivalry in the sport. Coach K's swan song. Hubert Davis' first year. Could be double exclamation points for Carolina, because they had the exclamation point from Cameron, which will never go away, no matter what happens in New Orleans this weekend. But it could be negated to a large degree. It certainly would be for Duke fans if Duke could get the last word this year. So Josh Graham will join us in a little less than 20 minutes to talk about that.
How many more free throws will Duke shoot than North Carolina in the game? If I put the over-under at 7.5, where would you go?
I'd go under. Really would.
Okay.
It is North Carolina, after all.
I understand.
Is there a spread yet?
Yeah,
4.5.
4.5.
In favor of Duke, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Same number for Kansas Nova.
Which David and I both love Kansas, just to the fact that the Nova guard's out, and it shortens their bench even more, which they didn't have one to begin with.
No, I mean, they were a 6-man team, as is North Carolina, and Nova loses Justin Moore on the eve of the Final Four. I mean, for one game, sure, some bench play. I do think it takes Nova realistically out of the cutting down the nets discussion. I mean, for one game, we've seen crazy things happen. A guy who normally plays 4 minutes could play 18 minutes. Remember, Louisville was in the title game like 9 years ago, and the third stringer who hardly played they were losing, and he comes off the bench and hits 3 threes from the corner, ends up scoring like 20 points.
Hell, the kid from Kansas plays, 4 minutes or whatever it was, has that defensive stop on Miami. I don't want to say it was a huge momentum shift or anything, but it was a hell of a stop at the end of it. It's amazing what a bench player can do getting put in the moment.
It was gut punching. Entirely shifted the momentum of the game.
We've got a Purdue fan across the hall.
Man.
He's not well.
No.
He's down bad.
And he doesn't realize it, but he kind of came in here on Friday and remarked how they had already went on to the Elite Eight.
Well, he was talking about trying to figure out how they matched up against UCLA or Carolina. And we said, hey, just take care of business. Don't be that team.
And you know what Purdue was? That team.
Ouch. I mean, you never know when you're going to get the next opportunity and a bracket opens up for you. And whoo-wee. And this was a team that at one point this year was number 1 in the country. I mean, at least, I never thought I'd say this, at least if you're Kentucky, and it's bad enough you lost to St. Peter's, but St. Peter's shot over 50% from the field, over 50% from beyond the arc, missed 3 free throws in the whole game, and they shot like 25 of them. I mean, they shot great. They played great. If you want to blame your defense a little bit, yeah, sure. But they played really against Kentucky as well as they could play. They didn't play that well against Murray State. They didn't play that well against Purdue. I mean, if you're Purdue, you're like, wait a minute, they didn't even shoot 40% and we lost.
And I get defensively that they played hard and all that, but you've got 2 bigs that should have been a nightmare for St. Peter's. There's no way that should have been a game. That's on Painter. That's on his players. That's on not getting the ball to the inside. That's on slowing it down for a game that should have been a slow down. Going to be a long off season for the Boilermakers.
Well, and obviously he's not going to lose his job.
No.
But I will say that's one of those things that lingers. You know, we get 3 years down the road. I mean, Painter went through a rough stretch a few years ago. I think back-to-back losing seasons in which they were grumbling. God forbid he goes through a rough stretch here coming up, or he becomes the Big Ten version of Fran McCaffrey in Iowa. And I know they're in the Big Ten, but you know what I'm saying, in which all of a sudden they're going to replace Fran McCaffrey in Iowa as the Big Ten team that disappoints more than all the others.
Just got Bobby Knight in my head nonstop. I'm sick and tired of losing to Purdue.
That one's tough. That one's tough to come back from. It is. Miller and Moulton, our poll question, you've been watching a lot of madness for the last 2 weeks. It got us thinking about the college football playoff and whatever it's going to become in the next handful of years. And do you think with how fun, entertaining, even though we've got 4 blue bloods in the Final Four, you got to admit, we had madness before the Final Four.
The ride was well worth it to get the Blue Bloods into the Final Four. And do you want that same type of ride or the opportunity for that same type of ride in college football? And by and large, you don't. There is zero interest in 16 teams. And I mean 6%, David.
They put 68 teams in out of roughly, it's somewhere between 350 and 360. You know, we've had a few teams added. I know a couple of years ago it was 353. I think it's closer to 360 now. Let's just call it 360. So we let 68 in out of 360. If you do 68 times 5, that's 340. So we're letting in, you know, a little less than 1 out of every 5. So the equivalent in football, because we're in the 120s.
Right.
So if you let in 1 out of 5, that'd be letting in 25 teams. So even here, the most we're proposing is 16. So we're proposing letting in basically 1 out of 7 teams. 1 out of 7 Division I teams would make a 16-team college playoff. Less than 1 out of 10 make a 12-team.
And when you take that out in the you're becoming pro football. No, you're not even close.
No, this is still very exclusive.
Even at 16, it's very exclusive.
Right. It's 1 out of 8, basically. 12 is, do the math. 8 is 1 out of every 16 teams you're allowing into the tournament. Pretty exclusive territory here. But with everything else getting bigger and bigger and bigger, we keep seeing and hearing college football fans going, oh, no.
And I wonder how many of them walk far down the line like we do, because I don't know anybody that loves bowl season. I don't. Maybe our former producer is the only guy out there that likes Capital One Bowl month. You're not watching. I'm not watching. I mean, they get numbers more than their ESPN numbers, but it's not like they get huge numbers for these games.
No, they get on average about 2 million a game, though. So people are watching. The Saturday night ABC game does like no more than 3 million people on average. So the bowl games do pretty well comparatively. And that's why they stick around. But we don't think they do what playoff games would do. Even a 116 matchup would outdo, there's 44 bowl games. It would outdo 36 of them.
And they get 8 of those.
Right. That's if they want them.
But this has been more of a pipe dream, the 16-team talk. Not even a pipe dream. This has just been a little conversation as to how it would look and then why it isn't going to happen. Because unlike basketball, college football is run by the Power 5 conferences, not by the NCAA.
Josh Graham is host of The Drive at Sports Radio in Winston-Salem. Duke, Carolina, first time ever in the tournament. Next.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Twitch chat. I really. Sorry, I had a yawn there. Another yawn. 2 for 2. Anyways, I really want to make a segment with this song. This is like the most epic theme ever. And I think I'm going to wait till when football season comes back because it's from the NFL. But it's pretty glorious to rant to this. Miami Heat, man. Need to go on a little run right now. I'm scared as a fan. Really hope we can win at least one playoff series. Well, that's exactly what it is, Paul.
Was Tyreek in the arena?
For this game?
Yeah. Because he puts
I don't know.
Because he does the Tyreek Hill peace sign there as he's going in for the dunk.
Yeah, I think that was just like, oh, Tyreek's a Dolphin.
I'm wondering if they partied because like the Nets were in town Wednesday night.
Right. You mentioned they got there.
So they were in all day Thursday, all day Friday. This game was Saturday.
By the way, all of them were there too, including Ben Simmons. So to the question of whether or not they were partying, the answer is most likely yes.
Oh, well, come on. I wasn't asking if.
Yeah. We in Skyami. Left Mr. Jones.
Yeah. How about Penny? Did you hear that story? Hardaway? The commercial appeal on one other media outfit in Memphis uncovered the fact that, apparently the NCAA is about to come all after Memphis.
Are they?
Bunch of level 1 violations, lack of institutional control.
What was the original issue with them again that they had a couple years ago?
James Wiseman, and they wouldn't accept the NCAA's penalties, and they fought it.
But wasn't it?
And they threw it in the face of the NCAA while doing it.
Was it something that if he did now wouldn't have been a violation?
Oh, yeah.
It was NIL pretty much. James Wiseman was making money.
I thought he was. Specifics escape me right now, but I thought it had something to do with accepting of some kind of gifts from an AAU person or whatever. Did you call Josh?
I'm about to.
Talked to Josh in our second act. He was in Greenville,
Yes.
Carolina, and left there a couple years ago to get this gig.
The triad, David. Triangle, which is the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and you have the triad, which is Winston-Salem, North or High Point.
Josh, we're going back.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Thanks so much for being with us on this 30th anniversary of Leitner hitting the shot against Kentucky. If you missed it earlier, we talked to Verne Lundquist, who called that game for CBS 30 years ago. If you miss it, download it. Podcast, floridasportsnetwork.com, millerandmoulton.com. Josh Graham, kind enough to join us from the Triad in North Carolina, host of The Drive in Winston-Salem. You can follow Josh on Twitter at Josh Graham Radio, Josh Graham Radio. Josh, thanks for coming back on with us. It's David and Mark. How are you?
Doing great. And to quote Verne Lundquist, in your life, have you ever seen a sports lineup such as the one that you guys have this morning?
Well done, Josh. Well done. All right. We thought we had the last Duke-Carolina matchup when the Tar Heels took care of business at Cameron. We're going to get another one that's never happened before. How are dinner tables across North Carolina going to be this week with arguments?
Dinner tables? I'm looking out in the street and people just don't know what to do. Their hands are in the air and they're running around and there's just constant looting and things are it's just chaos, and it's only 8:15 in the morning and we're still 6 days away from Armageddon. It's one of those things where I'm being honest with you guys right now. I am booking travel to New Orleans and I'm figuring out what we're going to do here. I don't think anyone's going to stick around for the championship game on Monday. I think everybody's going to leave after Saturday, even though we're guaranteed that one of the two teams are going to play for a title, because the title is being seen as a consolation. The championship game for those around here is Saturday. That's the game that's going to matter the most. That's the game that's going to be remembered the most. Now, there are other historical benchmarks that can kind of relate to that, such as the United States most notably taking out the Soviets in 1980, but still having to beat Finland the game after that. But this, or 1986 with Buki Wilson dribbling it through the legs and still having to win a Game 7 the game after that. But that's how this feels. This game, it's not overstatement to say this is the most important non-national title game that's ever been played in the history of college basketball. I believe that.
In the history of the sport, certainly in the state that you are in, but that is, we will let that marinate, Josh, throughout the course of the week. And that big statement could, in fact, hold up. Josh Graham, host of The Drive in Winston-Salem, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. You had said, and I need to find out if you were joking or not, but you had been saying leading into Sweet 16 weekend, you don't think you could handle Carolina and Duke in the tournament, and you didn't want to see it. Now that you are going to see it, will you be able to handle it?
I guess we'll find out. No, my concern with it's this, and I'm encouraged, I come on your radio show to start off this week, and I'm sure there will be others all throughout the week that will ask questions about the game. I'm encouraged that you ask about Duke and Carolina first, because my fear was that if these two teams met, the storyline was going to be all about Coach K, just like Coach K's last game at Cameron, and we kind of forget the rivalry element of it. I hope I'm wrong on that, because this is such a historical milestone. These two teams have never played each other in the NCAA tournament, and they're 8 miles apart from each other. And now they're playing not only in the tournament, but in the Final Four in Coach K's final season. That should be the story. The rivalry, what it means for the rivalry should be front and center more than, hey, is Coach K, if he wins, going to be able to avenge what happened at Cameron about a month ago? That was my fear of how this was going to be framed a few weeks ago. And what I just communicated before the Sweet 16, I don't know if we'll be able to handle it, is something that I've been saying for years, like for the better part of a decade. And a lot of other people have agreed with, hey, hopefully this never happens and Duke and Carolina never play in the Final Four, because I don't know how people are going to react to it. And I still have no idea how that's going to go the rest of this week.
Josh, and as you were speaking there, the one thing I was thinking of, I spent some time living in the Raleigh-Durham area, and I had a gentleman who called. I did a radio show in Raleigh. I had a gentleman who called every day to get me fired because I referred to Carolina as powder blue, and wanted my head for that. There are very few times that I can recall North Carolina ever being able to play the disrespected card. But because of this whole Coach K thing, it seems as if, first off, they're the underdog on paper. We are going to talk more about Coach K than we are North Carolina. There are very few times in life that North Carolina gets to play the underdog disrespected card. They must have done it a little bit for the last game in Cameron, and it looks like they're going to be able to do it a little bit for this first game in New Orleans.
Yes, they're the underdog this week, and they're in the Final Four. Who would have thunk it? It's not quite to the degree what we saw at Cameron, because I was there, and that was a zoo when you consider the 100 former players that came back, and that's also something that was circled for a very long time. But on the same token, it really ramped up that week, the amount of tension that was put on it. So I'll be interested to see how Mike Krzyzewski handles that with this group versus North Carolina that might be playing with house money at this point, the way that they approach a game like this. I do think that Duke should win the game just because they are the more talented team. A lot of people want to talk about the last game at Cameron. Well, what about the last game at the Smith Center that Duke won by 20 points? If I had to guess how most matchups would go between these two teams, I'd venture to say more would look like the game in Chapel Hill than look like the one in Cameron. So, and plus, I just can't fathom a world where Coach K coached his final game and it was in the Final Four and the team he lost to was North Carolina.
It's sports. Crazy. You know what happens all the time. It's why we keep watching. What do you think happened with Carolina? I mean, it was 3, maybe 4 weeks ago. They were a bubble team. What happened in your estimation?
Hubert decided that he was only going to play the guys that he trusted. And the guys that he trusted were the 5 starters. And in the second half against Duke, they call it the Iron 5. He didn't make a single substitution. And in that second half, they turned it over one time. And they shot something like 60% in the second half. And then we've seen in other points. Like North Carolina, the only game they've lost in the last month and 12 or 13 days was when they had to play on consecutive nights in the ACC tournament. They won on Thursday and then lost to Virginia Tech on that Friday. And a big part of the reason I believe they lost was because they didn't have bench. They didn't have a lot of depth. So they weren't as fresh as the team they went up against. In the NCAA tournament, you don't have to worry about games on back-to-back nights. And that's a luxury to a team that will play their starters pretty much the entire game. Now, it does hurt you in the rare times that you might lose one of those starters. Fortunately, North Carolina hasn't dealt with an injury, but we saw what happened when Brady Manick threw an elbow against Baylor and couldn't play the remainder of the game. They lost a 25-point lead almost immediately. So I think to answer what exactly happened, Hubert just kind of approached it like a NASCAR pit crew saying, you know what, we're going to try and go the rest of the way without any pitting. No pitting. We're just going to go the rest of the way and see if we have enough gas in the tank. And right now it's gotten them to New Orleans.
Well, in that being said, Josh, if there was an opportunity for Carolina, isn't Saturday better than Monday, just in that they'll have the whole week? There's no turnaround. We know the TV timeouts take an eternity in these games. So it's even, there's more times to rest. If it were a better shot, wouldn't Saturday be a better shot than Monday, theoretically?
Theoretically, yes. Because as Tim Brando used to say when he broadcast this rivalry, you throw the record books out. That's, just throw them out. I don't know what sayings involving this rivalry apply to Final Four games because we've never seen it before. I'm still trying to process it and figure it out. Jim Nantz is going to be calling a Duke Carolina game for the first time in 10 years. CBS hasn't had, they used to have the contract where they did Duke and Carolina once a year. They haven't had it for the last 10 years now. So I wonder what type of ratings records this could break, the way that people are talking about it. It's as compelling as college basketball can get. And it's going to be a circus. for the rest of this week. But to answer your question, Saturday probably would be their best shot, but that is also dependent on who they might get on Monday.
Talking with Josh Graham, host of The Drive in Winston-Salem. He's kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. We had a poll question on Friday. Duke had obviously won on Thursday, and we asked simply, now that it's gotten to this point, do you want to see Duke and Coach K reach the Final Four? And 58% of our audience said no, which I don't quite understand, but my co-host was a definite no. And just curious, wet your finger, put it up in the air, the triad, and as best you can tell with, other parts of the state, were people rooting for this storyline or no?
They were not. I was told by a pretty prominent former Carolina basketball player before the game yesterday that they would rather lose to St. Peter's than to go to the Final Four and potentially lose to Duke. That's what we're talking about here. And it's not even just the fans of the teams that are worried about potentially losing bragging rights for, I don't even know how long that would go, how long the bragging rights from a Final Four win would carry over, but I'd imagine for a very long time. But people like myself who don't really have a dog in the fight, but, who are North Carolinians, this rivalry is our crown jewel from a sports perspective. It's something that'll have folks pay $50,000 to $100,000 for a seat in a small, dingy high school gym-looking place like Cameron Indoor Stadium a month ago, and it's a place that'll attract former presidents and will attract movie stars and actresses and models to come hang out and watch a college basketball game. There's few things in this state that are so important, that are so noteworthy, that it would be that type of event where the entire country, maybe even broader than that, are paying attention to what happens within those walls at the Smith Center or at Cameron Indoor Stadium. So anything that might potentially jeopardize what that rivalry means, and this is the concern from some, but maybe not me specifically, but I've heard it, is, hey, could it hurt the rivalry that these two teams are playing in the Final Four? Because how does one of the sides come back from that? I don't subscribe to that theory, but it's something I've at least heard more than a dozen times in the last 24 hours.
He's Josh Graham. He hosts The Drive in Afternoon Drive in Winston-Salem. You can follow him on Twitter at Josh Graham Radio, Josh Graham Radio. Josh, thanks for making time for us. We know it's going to be a crazy week for you. Enjoy it. You'll likely never have it again. Josh, as always, thanks.
Appreciate you guys.
Josh Graham joining us once again here on Miller and Moulton, although first time in our third act.
Well, Duke hasn't played North Carolina in a Final Four. We didn't really need him.
No, we didn't.
It is amazing. Look, Duke is a pimple on North Carolina. They don't even consider, the rivalry's huge. And what he says, it is the crown jewel of North Carolina sports, but everybody roots for the Tar Heels. It's hard to describe. I don't know. It's because even Miami has Miami, the University of. That's Miami's team. When they play,
right,
the city comes out and supports.
Sure.
I don't even know if the people in Durham like Duke more than they like North Carolina. I'm not joking when I say that.
And Duke located in Durham, and Chapel Hill's 8 miles away. Beautiful campus.
Yeah, and the other one is a cement factory.
Yeah, not as beautiful.
Why are there so many Duke fans in New York, though?
Because that's where all the Duke graduates live. Duke's a great, great university. Small private school. Most of the people that go to Duke are not from North Carolina. They're from other places in the country.
They also play in the Garden once a year.
So that they can play a game in front of their alumni.
Right.
Well, that's why they're playing there.
North Carolina's had a lot of success in New Orleans. Dean won both his national titles in New Orleans. Just saying, Coach K has never won one of his national titles in New Orleans.
Are we sensing a pattern here?
I'm just throwing it out there. That's all. Miller and Moulton. For those of you, Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, Venice, thanks so much for listening. The bonus hour is next. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. And use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Okay. I know what you're getting at. By the way, relevant, yes, but not as popular. Not as big a deal.
What?
But in the Twitch chat room.
Oh.
The chances that Duke stays relevant, which Coach K gone. Oh, they'll stay relevant. They'll still get guys. I mean, he's apparently got a great class lined up. Shire does.
Hell, isn't he already recruiting Bronny?
Well,
it depends. Can Bronny play? I mean, I don't think he's ranked all that highly.
I think he's ranked, though.
Right.
I mean, I get it. He's LeBron's son, and because of that fact, he's probably going to end up somewhere. But he's
going to end up right in the NBA. They'll change the rules by then.
I mean, he's a 6'4" guard. Got some size, some athleticism. I need a Costco card, man. Does anyone just want to donate me their Costco card or just take me with you?
why can't you go and sign up?
No,
I mean, what do you mean no?
because I don't want to.
Oh, well, that's a you problem.
I just want to use.
All you have to do is sign up.
I just want to use. Wait,
I mean, you don't have to pay for it, correct, Mark? You just have to sign up for it.
wait, what? You get a free Costco trip?
Mark, do you have to pay for a Costco card?
Yes.
How really?
Yeah, like $120 a year.
Oh, wow.
What do you mean? What did you think it was?
I thought a lot of places do the free cards and they get you in, they get your information, they get to lobby you.
Maybe it's $60. I don't know what we pay, but it's a membership. All of those places are.
It's worth it.
Oh man,
Especially if you're going to stay here.
Oh, you could be right. And their pizza is good. And I know that's weird to say, but
It's gross.
no.
Costco pizza is gross. It's not good. It's gross. I tried a piece because I've heard people say that it. In fact, the person who said it lied because his wife likes it. And when I tweeted what I tweeted, he couldn't like it. Called me and he goes, "It's the most right-on thing you've ever said on Twitter in your life." It is. It makes Outback seem like real food. It's so bad.
Whoa. It's not that bad.
It's gross.
I'm not saying it's like high quality pizza or anything.
Oh. Yeah.
What's the best pizza you've ever had in your life? What state is it from?
You know what? I've had one.
I'm sorry. Richard Marks physically assault someone over a hair joke, an effing hair joke. I'd be in my 37th year in prison.
Who said that?
Richard Marks,
Oh,
the singer.
30 seconds.
Tim Reynolds, the ACC has suspended Will Smith for the Duke game.
that's pretty funny. By the way, I won't eat food at Costco. I'll buy food to cook, but I will not buy any food prepared already to eat, like the rotisserie chicken. I've never had it.
We're coming back.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this final Monday of March. Hope you had a great weekend. Did you stay up for the Oscars or just hear about it on Twitter or TV this morning? Still like Clay Travis's idea. From now,
I'm totally in.
From now on, the Oscars should just have one actor/performer slap/punch another actor/performer at some point during the proceedings.
Yeah, but we don't know who. We don't know when. We don't know which actor is going to slap which other actor.
And therefore,
I mean, you could have the Oscars on every Sunday if you're going to do that.
And therefore, for 3 hours, you're all in.
Oh. Just think of the prop bets.
I'm telling you, next year when Will Smith is going to be a presenter because he won the Academy Award, his second last night. I mean, he's one of, what, a dozen, I think, that have won Best Actor or Best Actress more than once. I mean, it's not a big club. It's like that EGOT club that I was telling you about, you know, the Emmy, the Grammy, the Oscar, and the Tony. You know, there's like 16 of them that have ever won an EGOT. And so Will Smith now in a pretty exclusive club. So he's going to be presenting next year. I'm telling you, if he had a sense of humor about this, he would call Chris Rock and he would say, "Hey, a year from now, I'll fly you out, whether you're on the list or what have you. And when it's my turn to present, you just come in from the side, you just walk over and you just slap me.
And you leave.
And you leave.
And you say, slap them, we're even. You walk off stage, and then Will presents the award.
Exactly.
Would be epic.
Yes.
Would be epic. I was watching a whole Pearl Jam thing of Eddie Vedder when Letterman, when Black started getting big. Letterman just kept going, do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Paul, I really like that. We got to get them on there. And when they finally get him on, Eddie Vedder walks out of the crowd, does it with the band, and leaves. And it's fantastic. If that happened at the, are you kidding me? First off, it wouldn't happen because the Oscars doesn't have a sense of humor.
Well, I don't know if the Oscars could stop it. I think the two could arrange. I mean, Chris Rock could be there, whether he's a presenter or not. I mean, if Chris Rock could get himself invited to it, and then he could get himself backstage.
Well, you know, he already made a shot at Jada Pinkett Smith like
6 years
ago at the Oscars,
right?
When she said she wasn't coming, and
in protest with her husband wasn't coming, so she stayed away as well,
and she wasn't nominated. And he's like, that was like me saying I'm not invited to Rihanna's panties. I was never invited in the first place.
Right.
That was his joke at that time.
Right. So maybe there's some history there.
A little
bit.
And for those of you that think it's fake, all I will say is that there is the Japanese television version that you can find pretty easily on Twitter.
And Australian.
Where they go to the crowd shot of Will Smith screaming at Chris Rock.
Yes. Expletives.
Keep my wife out of your blanking mouth. And he says it twice.
Yep.
And he's saying it angrily.
Well, and there's also now some cell phone video of people who were there who, shot, and there was Will being, comforted during the commercial break. All right. So it clearly was not
comforted. You hit somebody in the mouth and you got to get comforted.
If
I slap you and I start crying, there's a real problem here.
I'd comfort you, though.
With a right hook, I would hope.
Since you slapped me, I wouldn't feel as if I could then punch you. I could slap you.
Great poll question right there.
Yeah.
Someone slaps you across the face. What are you allowed to do? We probably blew today's poll question.
Probably.
Because I think you slap me in the face, I should be able to hit you. You slap me unprovoked. That's an unprovoked slap. You made a joke.
I agree.
I should be able to punch you in the nose at that point.
But it was a conscious decision to only slap him. Okay. If you slap me, I don't think I could punch you. I think I have to just return, the same amount of force. It's kind of like when a country screws up and we have to have a response that is, reciprocal.
No, actually, this is two men. One guy walked up and embarrassed someone after he hurt his feelings, a joke, and he slapped him in the face. So the joke escalates to slap escalates to punch in the mouth.
Can you imagine if they would have just started scrapping right there?
Well, Will would have killed him. Chris Rock's 5'6" and weighs 100 pounds.
Skinny, yeah.
I will say, though, Chris Rock didn't move.
No.
Didn't flinch. Didn't rub his chin. It's kind of like the ball player gets hit by a pitch, doesn't rub it.
Now, imagine if Will would have faked slapped him and made him flinch and then just pointed at him.
From the looks of it, Rock had no idea that he was following through with that. I mean,
because it was not scripted. It was not planned. Chris Rock had to be thinking, what's he doing? This guy doing?
What's he doing? Is he going to come tell a joke? What's he doing at this point?
I mean, after all, it was an actor, a performer who was walking up to him. He's thinking, well, there's got to be an entertainment value here. And there was.
And as we've talked about on the show and as pointed out in the Twitch chat room, this is a guy and wife who have an open relationship and have talked about it. The ammo that Chris Rock could have. I think he's the funniest man on the planet, or was. All I know is that we were lucky enough to have Chris Rock and David Spade on. We were sitting in a room in an area not any bigger than this table. And I wish I had a tape of it because I said something quick. I had one little quick one-liner. And Chris Rock and David Spade was great. I'm trying to get everybody to sit down before the interview, and David Spade looked at me and he goes, "We got this." And not like a jerk, not like a dink. He's like, "Dude, we're two movie stars.
Right.
I think we can handle you two yahoos." But he didn't do it as a jerk.
Right.
And the interview went really well. And I said something early on that was remotely funny. And Chris Rock turned and looked at me as if to say, "Old fat white guy, I tell jokes." And he went off for 90 seconds and just picked the room apart, ripped on Snoop, ripped on a few other people. And I mean, just started eyeing people up and taking them down. So if you don't think Chris Rock could have just single-handedly annihilated him right there.
Look, I get it's obviously humiliating, especially it being on a national stage. I would be honored to be roasted by Chris Rock.
I don't think Chris Rock feels humiliated at all.
No. I'm saying Will Smith feels humiliated.
Maybe.
I would be honored to be roasted by him.
Maybe. Who knows?
Imagine if Biggie made a diss track with you on it.
A lot of ways that would be really impossible, but I get your point.
You know what I'm saying? You guys were alive to see him. I wasn't.
Would bring him back for the dead, which would be a hell of a
Let me
trick in
tell
and of
you,
itself.
talk about a hit.
I mean,
Man. But yes, Chris Rock had jokes that Chris Rock could have said. And my guess is Chris Rock may say it on his next show, which is Wednesday night in Boston. If you're traveling and you can get tickets, I would go.
We probably should have checked and seen what StubHub prices were first thing this morning and see what they are by tomorrow.
In fact, bigger sporting event this week. Duke, Carolina in the Final Four. Chris Rock's show Wednesday night in Boston.
at least it's not in Philly.
Man, monologue's going to be something. I hope somebody's taping it.
Right. Can we live stream this, please?
So if you missed it, by the way, 30 years ago today, Duke, Kentucky, Leitner hits the shot. I contend you take Lake Placid out of the equation. Nothing can ever be that. Not only in terms of the monumental upset, but the geopolitical and, just where we were as a country then. I mean, it's just, don't think it could be put back together again and have a similar set of circumstances. So if you're willing to take Lake Placid and push it to the side, I contend the Duke, Kentucky 92 East Region Final, the best sporting event that's taken place in this country. It was that good of a game, that significant, that great of a game. Now, some contend last year's semifinal, Gonzaga and UCLA. And I will say the numbers are tremendous. Both shot over 50%. It was played at a high level. Future pros,
Yep, UCLA and the Zags versus Duke, Kentucky.
Right. I mean, that's also part of the lore. Neither UCLA nor Gonzaga. It was around later in the tournament. It was to get to the title game. Duke, Kentucky was to, quote, just the Final Four.
But 30 years ago, where college basketball was in terms of relevancy in this country, it was at a much higher point than it is now.
Yes. I mean, most people didn't know a good chunk of the players who were on the Zags and the Bruins last year in the Final Four, whereas we felt we certainly knew the Duke players.
Well, David, I think, put it this way, if we were doing this then, we were breaking down these college basketball games a lot more than we are now.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
In fact, as you say that, and you talk about Duke, Kentucky, and I'm trying to think of when we would have a sporting event that's a non-football game enter that list anymore. Like, it's hard for me to see a sporting event not named the Masters.
Well, there you go. Because you could argue that in the last however many years, and if you just want to go post Lake Placid, whether it was Jack's back 9 in 86 and how that tournament ended, which, by the way, nothing but Hall of Famers on the leaderboard, which added to what it was that Jack did and was able to accomplish. Which moment for Tiger do you want to pick? Do you want to pick the one in which he comes back and he wins the Masters in 2019? Not as dramatic. I mean, Jack shot 30 on the back 9. Tiger hammed and egged it all day. And then in the final hour said, none of you want to win this, huh? Okay, I'll take it from here. But obviously the comeback and our feelings towards Tiger, and we didn't think we'd see this again. And so, a lot of people remember where they were when that happened. But if you're taking the NFL off the table,
right?
Does this rank up there?
Well, that's what I mean. But I'm just trying to figure out how anything not named the Masters, it's not a football game, would even get on this list anymore. And maybe the one thing that it would be, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm going to say this. That little team that played, it's going to be that team that played yesterday against Panama. that's going to take it. It's going to be a World Cup moment for the United States
Wow.
to jump on that list. I can't think of something that, like, as much of as you're a basketball fan, Felipe, I don't think there's a basketball game that could jump on it the way this is. I think it would have to be football or maybe, dare I say, a U.S. World Cup one day.
Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening here on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You know, even though we've got Pulisic and a few others that are now playing on a big stage.
Ooh. Nobody knows it. So,
No way, Klecko. No way.
No, it could happen if Phil or Tiger won a Masters.
So the Final Four is next Saturday. Is the national championship game on Monday?
Always is.
Always.
Yeah, just want to make sure.
By the way, my buddy texted me, a slap is much more disrespectful. Definitely warranted a punch in the face in return. It's a nonviolent person that texted me that.
I really kind of freaking hate that it's on a Monday, though.
It's always on a Monday.
I know, and it's the same thing with football, but
Why?
Because Friday and Saturday are the two worst nights for television in the country.
I know.
That's why.
But
Think about it. How often are you watching TV on Friday or Saturday night?
if it's a big game,
It never is.
Okay. Do you want to know the cold, hard truth? The Sunday night lineup is too profitable with too big a ratings in it. And so CBS said, we'll do it Saturday, Monday. Because we're not canceling 60 Minutes and Murder, She Wrote and all the other stuff that they've had over the years on Sunday night. We're not doing it. We make too much effing money. So we'll do Saturday, Monday. Got it? Because we can sell sports on a Monday night.
Been doing it for 50 years.
okay, this is random, but what about a Thursday night?
All right. Now you get into fans, hotel rooms. That means you're going to have the semis on a Tuesday.
And remember, the biggest convention for college basketball coaches will be this Saturday. Every single coach in the country is at the Final Four. Coaches and assistants. It's their big meetings, and it's part of the tournament.
Yeah.
They
get there on Thursday.
For the NCAA, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Not for the rest of us.
They get there on Thursday. The coaches start arriving on Thursday. There's actually meetings. They vote on certain things. I mean, but it's a big party and it's a big networking thing. And most of the coaches are not there for Monday.
Yeah,
most of the coaches leave Sunday.
Yeah.
And they sell their tickets. Or they give them to somebody.
That's cool. Okay. I'm sold.
Klecko, no. The White Sox are not a draw. Cubs have already won the World Series.
Oh, what a series that would be, though. I mean,
keep trying, Klecko. We'll see if you come up with something. I'm going to suggest to David to not even answer you until you come up with something that's worth answering.
So if Mets Yankees is the Subway Series,
they did it in 2000.
No,
it was lowly rated.
Oh,
the rest of the country doesn't give a shit,
I guess. But if Mets Yankees is the Subway Series, what's Yankees or what's Cubs White Sox? Do they have a name for their thing? I guess.
I don't know what it's called. Like the Angels Dodgers one's the Freeway Series.
Bobby Regan, if the U.S., because he's a big soccer fan or basketball guy, the U.S. gives up 6 goals on Wednesday, I'll let 100 people line up and Will Smith slap me.
10 seconds.
There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
It's the gold standard for me. I know it's not for most everyone else. I think it'd make your top 10, wouldn't it? Duke, Kentucky. Leitner hitting the shot 30 years ago today.
Oh, it's. I don't remember who the Red Wings played that day. I just know I went to a Red Wing matinee, drove back to Saginaw to switch cars because I was going back to Michigan State or I had something going on with a buddy. And then we all decided to end up going to a party. Listened to the first half of the game, watched the second half of the game. I remember everything about it. It was like an epic day of my young life. No, that's game's way up on the list.
It was a Saturday. It was at the old Spectrum in Philadelphia. Leitner capping the perfect day. Hitting the shot, 104-103 Duke over Kentucky in overtime.
There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes!
Such a good call.
Doesn't say anything else for about a minute and a half.
For the record, Wings beat Vancouver 3-1.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Pavel Bure, Trevor Linden on the 92 Canucks, by the way. You saw a team who 2 years later would play in the finals. A good young team on the rise that day. You had Stevie Yzerman and a few others.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
Yeah, they were. They
around
were
that time.
On their way up for sure. But
Kentucky fans are having a problem right now.
I understand. I mean, St. Peter's a little over a week ago, and now.
And then we just keep doing this to them.
Right.
There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes!
Krzyzewski takes his clipboard and he slams it to the ground. And he was asked afterwards, and I don't know if it was immediately afterwards, but he's asked about that. And he said, what bothered me was we were going to lose on a shot that wasn't pure. He goes, Woods made a hell of a shot, but he banks it in from the lane. He goes, come on, he's not trying to bank that in. Okay. And it just bothered me that the game was played, we're both playing so well, the whole deal, and we're going to lose on, and he didn't say lucky, he didn't say fluke, but he said something along the lines of, it was not the intended shot. And that was going to bother me, that this team, trying to repeat, number one team in the country, we were going to play this epic game and we were going to get beat on, something less than how he felt this game should end. And so when it ends the way it did, you see Krzyzewski take the clipboard and slam it to the ground. And he basically said, my response was blank. Yeah, that's how this game's supposed to end.
Because I'm sure he didn't get a bounce the entire game that went his way. I know.
But it was just what if you see the and you may see it today. All right. And there are certain shots because they go to Krzyzewski pretty quickly. And that seems like a weird reaction. And he was asked about it, and that was his answer.
Was that more of a slap to the face than what North Carolina did to St. Peter's last night?
I may be one of the few people who believes this, but as I was watching it, and I'd say I watched it till about mid-second half, and then I felt badly for St. Peter's, and I'm like, I can't watch the drubbing anymore. To me, it was like Holmes Ali. It was like, please stop this already.
It really was.
But to me, as I'm watching it, and I was watching it with my wife and mother-in-law, I was trying to explain to them, I go, this should make us all appreciate what they've just done, because this easily could have happened at any point in time.
Including obviously the first game against Kentucky.
Right.
In fact, it was what was supposed to happen the first game against Kentucky. They were a 14 or 16 and a half point underdog or whatever the hell it was.
I mean, they were 12-11 in mid-February. All right. They were the 6th place team in the MAAC until they got on their roll. I mean, this could have happened at any point in time.
Duke or Kentucky, that was the record?
No, it was St. Peter's.
Oh, I thought you were talking about, I'm sorry.
And here they are in the region final. And in a way, it shows even more what they did, how remarkable it was.
100%.
Because as we saw it up close 9 years ago, FGCU gets to the Sweet 16. They're up 10 on Florida. 7 minutes ago, first half. And the fine line between a seed like that, it was like Miami yesterday, who's an ACC team, a 10 seed. And there's a fine line between playing with Kansas and then, blank. It's on. And I don't know how we stop this.
And there was no difference between the second half of Kansas and Miami than the whole game of St. Peter's and North Carolina.
Right.
There wasn't. Miami had no answer when that second half started. None.
Scored 15 points in the second half. 15 points.
Right.
I mean,
then at one point just started chucking threes because nothing else, and that's not their game.
No.
Took them completely out of everything that they do.
Charlie Moore had 3 turnovers in the first 5 minutes of the second half. He never turns over the ball.
And, one of their key players picked up a 4th foul, and next thing you know, and that's what happened to FGCU 9 years ago. They're in the Sweet 16. They're up 10, and then something as little as they called one of their key 3 players picks up a foul that was not his. And Andy and the coaching staff could not get the officials to change it. They're like, you missed it. It wasn't him. It was so-and-so. And they said, no, it was Bernard Thompson. They're like, no. And so they take Bernard out of the game. And Florida goes on a 16-2 run. Just taking one guy off the floor, one little dynamic.
But the one thing we've seen now, going back to FGCU, doing it 9 years ago is that's 3 15s in a row that advanced to the Sweet 16, one that's gotten to an Elite 8. Now, I do wonder, now that the COVID years are done, if that will adversely affect the little schools who had guys playing 5 and 6 years and were able to put something together with some chemistry that I don't know if can be repeated. But at the end of the day, between the transfer portal, guys leaving early, the mid-majors and low majors are going to get the opportunity to have teams that play together for 4 years.
Well, I think this is going to happen more. Not necessarily a 15, but I think we're going to see more 13s. And I don't know if it's technically higher or lower, but you know what I'm getting at because of the transfer portal. Good players will be looking for PT and they'll go anywhere to get it. And it doesn't take too many good players to be able to win a couple games in the tournament. So I think we're going to see the first week and weekend of the tournament, I think will only get crazier, Mark, over time.
And a question was asked, if there was no times between the rounds, would Cinderellas go further? Does the time and rest kill the underdogs once they get to the big boys? I think talent does. When you're the worst team, eventually you're going to get beat by more talent. It definitely helps in that second game, though. But that wasn't the case yesterday for St. Peter's. They got North Carolina with a small bench on a day's rest without time to prepare, and they pummeled them.
My mother-in-law kept asking, why is this happening? And I kept going, because the team in powder blue has NBA players. And those guys you're watching in navy blue, this is it. It ends tonight.
I did love the whole line change shifts.
I will say people in the basketball world acted like they've never seen this before. I mean, Hubie Brown did it his whole career.
They hadn't seen it since maybe 2000, but there was a time that most everybody went 8, 9, 10 deep, David.
Well, but so they literally went starting 5, second 5, and people acted like they'd never seen that thing before. I don't know. I didn't find it that crazy. Maybe I'm just old.
I found it fun and old school is what I found it.
Yeah. And Shaheen Holloway will get about a $2 million a year raise as he goes to Seton Hall. Probably be announced Wednesday. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening.
Hey, it's Mark Miller for the Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better. Improve your golf game from home with Orange Whip Golf and Fitness online swing training program, The Training Grove. With a growing swing training video library and a daily program prescribed by golf fitness professionals, The Grove provides a clear path to unlock your most powerful swing, giving you control of your game like never before. Join thousands like me who have finally found a way to achieve results in half the time of traditional game improvement methods with The Grove's revolutionary blend of golf fitness, instruction, and award-winning Orange Whip products. Go to orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial and use code Miller10 to get $20 off your first month. That's orangewhipgolf.com to get started for a free 14-day risk-free trial. Remember to use code Miller10. That will get you $20 off your first month. The Training Grove by Orange Whip Golf, where golfers go to get better.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So the state with maybe the best high school basketball in the country now, we're not going to recruit.
Well, one of the best, yeah.
That makes sense.
I don't think they are. I don't. And
He's just going to go to Philly and try to recruit there.
Already got a kid.
Oh,
Transfer from St. Joe's, who's transferring in. He's going to bring in a.
How many kids are leaving off of this team? All of them?
Well, I think they were really open to staying.
HBO just announced who they're going to do Hard Knocks with.
Who?
Lions.
I figured. Lions for Hard Knocks.
Oh.
I know they did Miami already, but do them again, please.
All right, we're on TBS
For the semis.
and the finals.
We're sure about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hubie Brown is 88 years old,
The
and he's
Villanova Michigan game was on Turner.
still doing television.
Final.
Yeah, because two of them were on CBS. The Carolina. Oh, you mean the
So, look,
Monday game? Got it.
I mean, obviously there wasn't a tournament in 2020. The last two tournaments were on CBS. 2018, all of it was on Turner. 2016 was all on Turner. That's how this thing works. I'm looking at the ratings. Sports Media Watch just put them all up. So for those thinking it'll have a good rating, you Villanova UNC did a 10-6. Last year did a 9-4.
What was the most watched in like the last 10 years?
Duke, Wisconsin had the best rating.
That was a good one. That was 2016. No, 2015.
Kentucky, Utah in 98. The year before, 97 did a better number. When you talk 97, 98, 99, all did over 26 million people.
Well, 97 was Kentucky Zona in overtime. 98 was Kentucky Utah.
And then 99 was UConn Duke.
Right. UConn won in St. Pete, I believe.
2015 was a good tournament. That was the year that Kentucky went undefeated and lost in Final Four.
To Wisconsin.
Yeah. Frank Kaminsky, Sam Decker.
So that Wisconsin Duke game in 15 is the best rated game since UConn Duke in 99. It's the best rated game this century.
Wow.
And what did it get?
It did a 16 rating, 28.2 million people.
Hmm.
Now, I will tell you, Wisconsin, Kentucky did a 12-4 in the semis, in the late semi game on Turner.
On Saturday.
But that's on Turner.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's 22 million people on Turner.
Yep.
So, but every game of the tournament is on Turner, no?
Well, no, some are on CBS.
See, it's CBS isn't under the Turner umbrella?
No. Turner.
No, CBS is under the CBS umbrella.
Correct.
Right.
Like ABC's under the ABC umbrella.
I don't know why I thought.
I don't either.
They all use the same scoreboard.
No, you never get a good team on Hard Knocks because it's a non-playoff team, Logic Man.
I love how we're just blatantly calling the Cowboys not good.
Are you sure about that, KW? Because there's 8 in the last 2 tournaments, just off the bat. 12 in the last 3. 13, 14. No, you're not right. That's not right. 15, 16, 17. No, that's not right.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
The home stretch on this Monday. Thanks so much for being with us. By the way, Albert Pujols officially back with the Cardinals. 11 years in St. Louis, did 9 and change with the Angels, and then finished out his 10th year in Los Angeles with the Dodgers. So he will play, or at least try to, a 22nd year in the majors and try to end it where it began, in St. Louis.
That farewell tour is coming.
DH, he's still has good numbers against lefties. He is starting to put on the pounds, though.
Aren't we all, David?
I understand, but we're not, wearing a uniform. And
do you know we're in charge of treats tomorrow for my daughter's softball game? So the wife went out and bought treats yesterday. Do you know there are individually, there's 2 in a pack, but like a pack of just 2 Oreos?
Yes.
Do you know how dangerous that box is in my house right now?
I will say, I think you eat less of them having to unwrap them 2 at a time, as opposed to just grabbing the box and going to town.
It's a dadgum good point, because once you've opened the box and you start going after it, whether you eat 2 or 20, you're busted. They know that you've opened it.
Right.
And you're going to get in trouble, whether you eat 1 row, 2 rows, or take down the whole damn box. But as you and I have talked about many times with wrappers, you start unwrapping these.
Right.
And now I've got to get coffee grounds out. I got to dump some things in the garbage just to hide the wrappers. If not, there's just this whole sea of blue at the top of the trash bin, and it's on me the next morning.
Yeah, and before you throw them out, you're also looking at it and you're like, wow, man, what a pig I am.
Tremendous guilt.
It's like most people can't handle the all-you-can-eat buffet and just keep going up and eating, which you're allowed to do. Most people can't handle it. They get, oh man, no more than once, or I could do it a second time, but after that, it's embarrassing. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet.
I do think, though, it is the one maybe downfall of COVID. I don't know if there really is going to be an all-you-can-eat buffet anywhere anymore.
No, there is.
Really?
Have you ever heard of Texas de Brazil?
I haven't visited.
It's not a buffet.
Yeah, it is.
So at those places, you walk up and eat the same food as everybody else, or do they bring it to your table?
Well, they do both. There are food that you can get and walk up and grab yourself, and then they come in, and then you have the red light or the green light.
But I would have no problem making them bring me an 8th plate and a 9th plate, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I know. You would be. In fact, I don't know how you and I haven't done one of those Argentinian steak places before. I mean, you have to for Felipe. You don't know. We did do it was at the Shula Steakhouse, 48-ounce porterhouse in a race against other people. David finished second. I believe he won on a technicality, but we weren't going to argue because we were guests.
Right.
I finished 3rd or 4th because I looked up at David's plate. Now, mind you, he took down a 48-ounce T-bone, porterhouse rather, in like 6.5, 7 minutes, something like that.
Something like that.
My goodness.
I looked up and thought I was going bite for bite. And when I looked at about the 5-minute mark, I'm like, damn, I can't catch him. So I enjoyed the last 3 minutes of my steak and finished at around 8 minutes. So what we could do to one of those red light, green light places.
Felipe, here's the funny thing. So we do the 48 ounces, and I literally look at the guy and I go, is there anything else to eat? And he just looks at me and I go, you got a baked potato lying around?
Lobster
anything?
mac and cheese, I heard, is pretty good around this place.
Anything? No? Bueller? No?
Moulton, I would have split a second steak.
No doubt. No doubt about it. Now, I'll say this. If we ever go and do this, I don't want them to take our plates away. I want to keep stacking them up. That's what I want to do.
God, I salivate so much on the show.
I want to let everybody know what's happening. They look over and they go, hey, look at what those guys are doing. They are going to town.
It's a dadgum good point.
That's all. That's all. Just stack them up. Everybody in the whole restaurant could know, wow, these guys are serious.
Moulton's on 8. Miller's on 7. They're having a day.
Medium rare, medium well?
Medium rare.
I'm a medium well guy. It is time for
Leave it to the oldest guy in the show, and definitely the oldest soul, to live in the past. Here's David Moulton with Today Was the Day When...
Mark, we're going to start in 1881. The greatest show on earth was formed. P.T. Barnum, James Bailey. Hence, Barnum and Bailey. 4 years later, the Salvation Army was officially formed. So happy 137th birthday to the Salvation Army. You know the first SEC men's basketball tournament was in 1933, and it ended today. They must have played the SEC tournament after the NCAA and the NIT, for that matter.
Okay.
Kentucky beat Mississippi State, a robust 46-27 in the final. 1950, CCNY beats Bradley to win the NCAA championship. They had already won the NIT championship.
Like that you can play in both. I don't want you to play in a semifinal, though, in a bowl game. That would really bother me.
Right. But on this day in 1963, they're discussing name changes for teams and, the fan bases, the Commanders and the Guardians and that sort of deal. Right. Well, and how long it takes for you to, basically adjust to a name change. 1963, the AFL's New York Titans became the New York Jets. Just like it was last week, 71? The Boston Patriots became the New England Patriots. That anniversary was last week. 1971, 51 years ago today, the very last Ed Sullivan Show on CBS. 1972, Elvis's last top 10 hit, Burning Love.
Hunka hunka.
Big day in 77. First off, Rocky wins the Oscar for Best Picture. And in 77, Marquette beat North Carolina 67-59 to win the NCAA championship. It was Al McGuire's swan song. He would join Enberg and Packer in the broadcast booth. I heard it did pretty well. 1979. Can you remember 3 Mile Island? The partial meltdown of the nuclear reactor. They claim no one died, though. All the stuff that got leaked out.
Right.
Just, sweep it under the rug. It's all good. Nobody died.
I remember that. They scared the hell out of us in the nightly news every night.
Yes, they
I mean,
did.
the world was coming to an end every night at 6:30.
Well, remember, it's 79.
We
got gas, shortages and unemployment 16%. And things are not going well.
Brinkley's taking me to 3 Mile Island every night. Brokaw's probably reporting on it at that point, and I know I'm scared to death.
1982. It was the first NCAA Women's Championship. Louisiana Tech beat Cheney State, which is HBCU. That hasn't been done since. But it was also the very last AIAW Women's Championship, which was the precursor to the NCAA Women's title. Rutgers beat Texas. So even though they played, Pat Summitt in Tennessee and others in the 70s played for championships, they were not playing for an official NCAA championship. I believe those were kind of grandfathered in, so to speak, but they actually were playing for an AIAW title. Mark, I got a bunch of golf for you. On this day in 83, Hal Sutton wins the Players. He was 4 back when the final round began. In 93, Nick Price won the TPC by 5 over Bernhard Langer. You may remember 2 weeks later, Langer wins his second Masters, 93. David Duval on this day in 99 wins the Players by 2. His dad, Bob, wins on the Senior Tour on the same day.
Now that's pretty cool.
Yes, it is. Adam Scott won his Players on this day in 04. Fred Funk became the oldest Players champion on this day at 48. He won it in 2005. Going back to some basketball, MJ scored 69 on this day in 1990. It was one of 4 times that he scored 60 or more points in a game. And yes, 30 years ago today, Duke beat Kentucky 104-103 in overtime. Augie Bush, Jerry Sloan, wrestler Kurt Hennig, Ken Howard, all no longer with us, all had birthdays today. Rick Barry is 78 today. Remember Bart Connor, the gymnast?
Yeah.
64. Byron Scott, 61. Jeff Bukaboom is 57. Keith Kachuk is 50. Just some good hockey names to throw
Keith
out there.
Kachuk could still score 20 in the show.
Especially sitting in front of the net on the power
Damn
play.
right.
Derek Carr's 31. Luke Walton, 42. Lady Gaga's 36. Nice moment at the Oscars with Lady Gaga and Liza Minnelli last night. Reba's 67. Vince Vaughn's 52. Julia Stiles from the whole Bourne movies, she's 41. Chris Long is 37. Diane Wiest is 74. And that, Mark, is today was the day.
All I got for you in omissions is an 81. Blondie's Rapture hit number 1. It would be the first chart topper with a rap in it.
Matt, by the way, in our Twitch chat room said, I was 11 and lived 20 miles from 3 Mile Island. We thought our family was going to have to move and never come back.
Congratulations on still being alive.
Well, and not moving.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
For the good, we go to Tampa, where the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department did a hell of a job. The Blue Angels were doing some flying, so the Marine units were out on the water when a boat started taking on water, and a Plant City family lost power with 11 people on their boat, including several children. Sheriff's office doing their job, getting everybody out and safe back to shore. For the bad, we go to Northport, where Elekitra Stiatsa is a Russian dentist. And apparently, she was not openly advertising her service. Word of mouth was the way she got going, but she did it all out of her house and was finally busted as the dirty dentist was using the home. I don't like the dentist as it is. Could you imagine going into someone's house to get a tooth pulled?
No.
I don't know if that would scare Moulton more than what this is. We go to Virginia Beach for the ugly, where police and health officials in Virginia were racing against time to help save the life of a rich man who was bitten by his own pet viper.
Whoa.
One of the deadliest snakes in the world, this idiot had as a pet. It bit. He then called Virginia Commonwealth University to get a delivery of the antivenom to save his life. I love how the story says it got there, but 10 on your side in Virginia is still learning more regarding the man's current condition. This breaking news will be updated. We'll have it for you too, because no word on whether the guy lived or not. Who has a pet poisonous snake?
All right.
It's one thing to have a pet snake. You're already weird. But one that could bite and kill you is another whole story.
All right. If you have a poisonous snake as a pet, don't you also then have to carry whatever that anti-venom stuff is in the house? I'm being serious here.
Yes.
Don't you? I mean, because you do have to acknowledge that, hey, there is a chance that the pet goes all
snake.
Right.
And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, March the 28th, 2022.
So is that like a guard viper then? I mean, are you using the venom to fend off burglars? Like, what's the point?
Wouldn't you have to just let it wander around the house then?
Right. Which
I
is
mean,
too dangerous.
If I'm a burglar, I wouldn't want to wander around a house with a venomous snake.
I wouldn't want to live in a house with a snake.
Yeah, neither would I.
I know. How do you? Oh,
and
man.
I did in college. My roommate had a snake.
Was it venomous?
No, it was a little boa. It was fine, but it drove me nuts. I didn't like it there.
On campus or off?
Off.
I was going to say. Guessing the RA would have not enjoyed the.
Probably not.
No. 5 games in the NHL tonight. The best one is Probably the one on NHL Network at 7 o'clock. Carolina's in Washington. Got 2 women's Elite 8 games going on. UConn, a 4-point favorite, despite them being the 2 seed. It's nice of them to put UConn in Bridgeport. You know, really, I mean, if you're NC State and you're the 1 seed, you got to be loving this. Hey, you're the 1. Gonna have to play UConn on the road, basically, to go to the Final Four. Louisville's a 4.5-point favorite over Michigan. I'm telling you right now, take Louisville, lay the points.
Really?
Yeah, Michigan didn't look good in the Sweet 16. They were lucky to get through.
You've bet money in the women's tournament. I'm
Yeah.
not going to argue with you in this one.
Had a really good women's tournament. You're right.
You truly have been lights out.
My brackets suck, but my
His
games
women's
against the money
bracket-
have been pretty good. Orlando's in Cleveland. By the way, our buddy Brandon Goodwin had 30+ for the Cavs over the weekend. Heat are home for Sacramento. They're a 13-point favorite. They've lost, what, 3 in a row, 4 in a row?
4 in a row.
4 in a row.
Got to win tonight.
I'd even lay the points. They got to win so badly.
Ooh, that I don't know about.
It's Sacramento.
I understand.
Heat by 20 tonight.
Udonis Haslem is threatening to
do
worse than Will Smith. Miller and Moulton.
David
Thanks.
Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.